It's an afternoon for redemption as Adelaide and Richmond look to re-establish their credibility after stumbling to start their campaigns. Both the Crows and the Tigers showed glimpses of a finals contender in round one, but both failed to capitalise, leaving them with the daunting possibility of a winless start to the season. Adelaide will be without Shane McAdam due to suspension, and key defender Jordan Butts has been omitted, a polar opposite to the Tigers, who have named 206cm forward ruck Samson Ryan and defensive debutant Tyler Young. Wayne Miller was a late change yesterday with adductor tightness, so Patrick Parnell is in, but no late change. The subs for both sides, Ryan Mansell for the Tigers and Riley Thilthorpe for the Crows. Aaron Bryan's with you to call the action. 0467 774 774 0437 774 774, I should say, the text line. Calling alongside me this afternoon is Neil Cross. Welcome, Crossy.
Aaron, great to be here. Look, we've already seen a reversal of fortune for some clubs from round one, so there's a path for both. Obviously, Richmond this afternoon, they've got to look at Carlton, who they drew with last week. Carlton had a good win in round two. For Adelaide, it's perhaps Brisbane. Both clubs got squashed last week, and yet Brisbane came out and obviously a really good performance last night to get a win. So you look at that. I must say the lighting won't be a problem today at the Adelaide Oval. That's another good positive for everybody. The
only side that hasn't flipped the script so far this round is Collingwood with that 71-point win over Port Adelaide, but so far the losers are winners, so surely someone breaks their drought today, between the Tigers and the Crows. Your expert commentary team this afternoon. Firstly, it's a very warm welcome back to the ABC Sport Commentary Box, Port Adelaide AFLW coach Lauren Arnell. Welcome, Loz.
Thank you, Aaron. Great to work with you all, and it's my first game here at Adelaide Oval, so worked obviously a few different states around the country, so great to be here, and always an awesome atmosphere at Adelaide Oval.
First impressions?
Of Adelaide Oval in the commentary box. We're a little bit higher than what I'm probably used to, but absolute treat. We get a great view from where we are, so no complaints here. It's brilliant.
Great crowd by the looks of things as well. Alongside Lauren Arnell, All-Australian Crow, Scott Thompson joins us for season 2023. Welcome, Tomo.
Thanks, Aaron. Great to be here, mate. And what a beautiful day for footy, and hopefully it's a good day for the Crows, coming off the back of a disappointing week last weekend. A shortened week, so it'll be interesting to see how they pull up after playing in the heat last week.
It's a pretty small sample size, obviously, with just the one round, but what did you make of the Crows and the Tigers, Loz? Do you think that both of these sides deserve to be in the conversation for a top 8 spot?
Oh, I think it's far too early to be talking about that, Aaron. We haven't even started round two for these two teams, but certainly I think, Scott, both teams will be expecting to perform better this week, and I think if you're the Crows, you're certainly flat on that flatter second half that they had, but a very exciting first half for them, where we see what they've been working on over pre-season, certainly what they're capable of. But one thing I would be nervous about if I'm a Crows fan is the style of game that Richmond plays. Very, very similar to what the Giants used to beat the Crows last week.
Absolutely, and the Crows would have taken a lot of positives out of their first half last weekend. Their efficiency going forward was really good. We saw Rankin 8 shots on goal, I think it was, and he comes in with a bit of pressure given what the Crows have given up to get him here. And Richmond last week, the tie with Carlton, they certainly had their opportunities to win the game. So it'll be interesting to see whether the Crows try and take Richmond on at their own game, or are a little bit more methodical, like Carlton were at times, control the ball going forward and try and hit the scoreboard that way.
The fifth member of our commentary team this afternoon, down on the boundary. Welcome back to Liz Walsh for season 2023. Liz, you've managed to get some good conditions as well for her.
Strangely enough, Aaron, for me. But the footy gods have gifted us stunning autumn conditions today. As such, the crowd's really building behind me. They've just witnessed Australian of the Year Taryn Brumfitt toss the coin. That was won by Richmond. They'll be kicking to the northern end of the ground. Quickly looking to the benches for you, and for the Crows, Lockie Murphy, Harry Schollenberg, Elliot Himmelberg and Patrick Parnell will start on the bench. Riley Thilthorpe goes in as Adelaide's tactical sub. While for Richmond, Cochin, Short, Ryan and Young will start on the bench. Ryan Marshall is their tactical sub.
Adelaide and Richmond on ABC Radio, News Radio, Sport Digital and the Listen app. Great to have you with us as round two continues in South Australia. Neil Cross to kick things off.
Adelaide first touch through O'Brien. And then Hopper working hard for Richmond, gets a hand pass out and a free kick play on advantage. It goes to Taranto through Nankervis, down to half forward. Straight away, ball on the ground, Morris Rioli over it, and it's held in tight, and eventually in will come the umpire at left half forward for Richmond. As Liz said, kicking to the northern end of the ground, no advantage in terms of wind, perfect conditions for football.
Nankervis in front position, slaps it through the hands of Taranto, but Pickett can crumb. Poor handball, turned straight into Laird and gave it to him. The Crows on the counter. Berry heads up to right half forward. Walker gets some space. Marks unopposed. Centres his kick. Fogarty's all alone at the top of the goal square and can march in for the opener. Adelaide on the board first, and it took 50 seconds to get there. 1 straight 6. Richmond yet to score on Grandstand AFL.
Great start for the Crows there. We can see with the Crows, Saligo straight away as a half forward came right up high to that stoppage, and Baker as a defender went all the way with him. And if they can continue to do that and empty out the Richmond back line, again, we might see some great efficiency going forward for the Crows.
And some more excitement for Crows fans watching Taylor Walker do an absolute number on Noah Bolter, turning him around, and Fogarty streaming into an open goal. It's a great start for the Crows.
Fogarty up forward. It was a revelation in many ways last season. Lots of questions down the years about was he going to make it or not. Perfect start for the Crows. They lead by a goal. Waiting for everybody to settle into their seats as we go in for the second centre bounce. Adelaide struggled against GWS getting the ball out of the middle in the second half in particular. Nankervis with the tap down. Adelaide with 4 running towards the ball. They share it between them out to Sloane. Sloane on centre wing, feeds it back. The left foot of Hinge goes short. Wasn't a great kick. Turned it over in the centre of the ground. Hopper picked it up. Ducked a tackle of Saligo. Got it away. Baker went backwards with his kick. Out to the other side of the ground. On the eastern side, McIntosh able to gather it. Oh, that was a wobbly kick as well. The ball must be flat. Sent it towards the boundary line and over. We'll get a throw in.
Very unsettled start from Richmond, a bit uncharacteristic for mine, and pushing the ball backwards, which we don't usually see from them.
Good pressure by the Crows, and great to see their mids getting their hands on the ball early.
Adelaide by 6 early. The voices of Lauren Arnell and Scott Thompson on Grandstand AFL. Entangled is O'Brien and Nankervis. Spills down, charging through Shoal, one of the 3 inclusions. Gathers a pill but can't get away from the tackle. Quick reset on the eastern side. Nankervis wins it down. He's looking for Prestia. There's a holding free kick in the process. It's going the way of Nankervis. Doesn't waste any time, the co-captain. Heads up to right half forward. He's looking for Lynch, who's sandwiched. Clears the pack. The footy Graham. Trying to charge through 3 but loses it. Has to become the tackler on Murray and escorts him over the boundary line. Right half forward for the Tigers, right in front of the Cathedral. And the Gavin Wanganeen stand. Adelaide by 6, 3 minutes in.
O'Brien and Nankervis waiting for that ball to be thrown in. Unlike last night, the ruckmen are actually fairly well positioned instead of having to come way forward. Out of the stoppage, it's gone away to Hopper again. He's made a good start on the left foot, inside 50, looking for Lynch, cutting across the front. Crows had defenders. Pulled away by Rochelle. He went across the arc of 50, found Sloane, so he's on the wing on this broadcast side. He's in half back at the moment. He goes straight across the goals into the scoreboard pocket to Duday, who plays on immediately. Found Shoal in for his first game of the season. Off to Laird short. Oh, Laird's kick was horrible. Fortunately, coming and meeting it was Saligo. He got a good bounce. Straight out to Shoal off his non-preferred left foot, out on the full.
Free kick Richmond at right half back. And on the eastern side, slowing things down a bit. Momentum has been taken out of the game. It'll be Camden McIntosh who'll have to bring it back into play. True centre wing on the eastern side instead, right in the sun. Beautiful day for it, despite a couple of clouds in the sky. McIntosh heads long. Booming kick up to right half forward. Dawson's got front position, went up unopposed, and Nankervis came late to spoil. Saligo at the 4, the footy lost it. Richmond now through Prestia. Retreats with the handball of Lostone. Centering kick looking for Daniel Rioli. Leaves it for Pickett instead, who marks and immediately points for home. From 55, it's a shank of a kick. Low, flat, hard towards Bolton. Couldn't claim it against Duday. Clearing kick for Adelaide up to right half back.
Intercept mark again, this time by Daniel Rioli. Inside 50, short kick just inside 50. Pickett was the man he found wide out, and Pickett points at the goals. Or maybe not. Man on the mark, 45 out. Pickett backs up within 5 metres of the boundary. Places the ball down, and he's supposedly going to have a deliberate shot. No breeze, it'll just be a test of his leg and his accuracy. Hits the 50, starts it way right. It's not going to score. Oh, it looked like Murray could have been done for a push in the back there, but Adelaide come away. Laird clears it out. Just a quick hack kick. And there was a block there by Rankin. He blocked Broad to give Keys the opportunity. And so Broad will go back, and the defender way down at half forward. Opportunity to have a look at the goals. Again, about the same distance as Pickett. Adelaide by a goal. And now it's 50 metres. Didn't see what that was for. Somebody pick it up because I think it was off the ball, or maybe something was said.
Didn't look like there was anyone in that protected area.
No, so Ray Chamberlain's marched the Crows for 50, and Broad, the defender, comes up with a goal. Just his second of his career. Is that what you're saying, Aaron? I didn't read the signs, but he's nodding now. Yes, just the second of his career. And so scores are level. Adelaide at 1 goal straight, as is Richmond after 6.5 minutes of the opening quarter.
We can already see how high up the ground the Crows are getting, and there was a huge amount of density in the back 50 for them. So coming out, they need to be smart with their ball use, because if Richmond are very well set behind the ball, as we've seen with the last 2 repeat inside 50s.
Great to have all Australian Crows Scott Thompson with us in the Grandstand AFL box. Scores level, 1 straight 6 apiece. Hasn't had quite the energy that the game preceding it had, Collingwood and Port Adelaide, but stalemate so far. In the middle, O'Brien wins it down for the Crows. He's looking for Schomburg, who slides in. Cochin's on his tail, loses it. Prestia can stand up in a tackle for Richmond and put it in the path of Bolton. He slaps it wide, trying to get it to Graham, who's immediately brought down by Berry. Just the 1 tackle last week after averaging 9 last year, but looks much more motivated this afternoon at the Adelaide Oval.
True centre half forward for Richmond. Ball into the hands of Broad, and high in the air with his kick. Only went about 10 metres. Ball comes down. Cochin took it. Slipped a hand pass. Couldn't get away. Broad now tackles Fogarty, who picked it up. He slipped a little kick out of there. And now they go forward through Young. Richmond just wobbled the kick inside forward 50. Short picked it up. Gave it away to Lynch. Lynch off a step across the goal face, and running and coming out and taking the mark is the debutant Ryan. The big ruckman, or backup ruckman, who was playing as a tall forward in that situation. Just too much reach. So he's only about 25 out, just to the right. So in he comes, starts his run near on 50. The boy out of Queensland from the Sherwood Football Club kicks a goal. And they come from everywhere to congratulate him on his first goal at this level. And the Richmond takes the lead. Richmond 2 straight 12. Adelaide just the 1 straight 6. And we've gone now through 8.5 minutes of this opening term at the Adelaide Oval on Grandstand AFL.
Well, I think, Scott, you mentioned how much Adelaide's trying to press up and squash the ground and get into that back 50. But Richmond, it seems really obvious that we're in congestion. They're really happy to go wide and use a bit of width. And that kick to Samson Ryan really allowing him to lead up onto the footy. But I think we expect all day Richmond won't kick it back skinny and won't allow that defensive pressure that the Crows are trying to squash the ground with. They're not just going to kick it back to him. Absolutely,
and it was a beautiful kick inside 50. Great lead, great mark, and excellent finish for the young fella. I think it was Tommy Duday on that occasion. Great challenge for him to defend.
Samson Ryan didn't have a touch on his debut 2 years ago. Now he's got a goal in the first term. In the middle, Richmond get another clearance. Worm burner from Prestia as it tumbles towards the 50. Duday's out to meet it with Ryan on his tail, overruns it. Rewalt with a poor handball for the Tigers. He's looking for Taranto, who's gang tackled 40 out from goal. Ball up to come inside the attacking 50 at the northern end. Richmond 2 straight 12, Adelaide 1 straight 6. Ball up now. Nankervis charges in, but O'Brien beats him to it. Tapped it straight down to Prestia, though. Falling into the footy with Berry on his tail. Got it out to Nankervis off a step. Up towards the top of the goal square. Lynch collides with Ryan, brings it down. Crows have numbers at the fall of the ball. Hinge out to Duday. Nice wheeling kick. Gets it wide. And
Murphy
hits up Murphy in the scoreboard pocket. One of the 3 inclusions for the afternoon.
Cross goals to Murray in the right back pocket. Down centre wing he goes. Long kick, Keys. Ball knocked away by the Richmond defender and Pickett there. And then Saligo picked it up, gave it to Keys. Keys forward kick up to Rochelle. Took a strong mark in front of Gimes. plays on, off the right foot, low and hard, and he missed Broad. Rankin came late. Umpire says that was a mark. I'm not sure if he really stopped it, but the umpire ruled it was a mark. Just inside attacking 50 for the Crows. Broad to take the kick for Richmond. Just a short chip out. Daniel Rioli just outside defensive 50 for the Tigers. Down the line he goes. Hopper. His fourth possession, I think. Or is he more than that now? It is his fourth possession, in fact. Hopper goes long down this broadcast side. Lynch comes and takes the mark, and if anything, Crows paved the way from him. Murray couldn't get to the ball. Lynch with the mark at half forward.
Looks inside, and the Tigers have numbers in the square. Hits Vlostone. Could go further wide to Young if he wanted. Instead, dinks it forward to Daniel Rioli. Too far out to score and called to play on. He'll go wide now to Young, who was waiting for it on the eastern side. Just behind right half forward. He'll head to the scoreboard pocket and put it in the path of Ryan, but didn't really favour him. Dawson got there first, gathered on the bounce clean, uses Scholl. Now Murphy has a bounce. A second as well through left half back. Stabs it down the line. Piercing kick to Fogarty. Centre wing, eastern side. Thought about continuing the chain. Instead looks inside and slows things down. It's up Duday. The Crows down by 6 at the moment. The ball bang on halfway.
Duday to Schonberg. And then Schonberg delivers a hand pass after taking the mark to Smith. Inside 50, Nankervis took the ball away from Himmelberg. Thought he claimed a mark. Instead he was tackled. And it'll be a free kick to the Crows. It'll be Riley O'Brien who'll take it.
Doesn't feel like you see a lot of those from Big Ruckman, but Riley O'Brien, it might be the only bloke he can tackle in Nankervis.
As Smith slams one into the woodwork there.
So O'Brien played on by hand, and then Smith into the post as he shot for goal from about 50 metres. O'Brien not trusting his leg.
Do you think he could have?
I think he should have.
Big Rob.
Rucks can't kick, Tomo. That's the age-old rule, isn't it?
Right idea given the handball.
Richmond looking to counter fast out to the eastern side to a pack at the 4 of the footy. Duday gathered. Kick was smothered. Ricocheted out to Laird. Lowers the eyes, hits up Pedler. Gives it off to Dawson running by, but he ran straight into a wall of Cochin. Somehow got away. Gave it to Fogarty. Into the 50. Himmelberg's got alone against 3, but it was touched. Mark isn't paid. In the left forward pocket for the Crows. McIntosh loses it in a tackle. Keys takes it away, but kicks errantly around the body and carries straight to Noah Bolter for the intercept mark for the Tigers. He races across the goal face and heads to left half back. He's looking for Graham, sits underneath it, floated a bit too long in the air, but he had his arms chopped by Hinge, who came late. Free kick to the Tigers on the western side. They lead by 5.
Down the line, good running by Nankervis. Near the interchange gates, took the mark, hand passed on to Daniel Rioli. Got it down the ground looking for Lynch. Murray punched it away. Adelaide had numbers. They spilled the ball. Martin picked it up. Gave it quickly to Short. Back he goes. Hand pass long back to Broad. Broad just gets his kick away from the chasing Rankin. And his kick was good in the end. Taranto, well, he dropped it or was pushed in the back. Either decision would have been correct. Point of the square at left half forward. Taranto looks up. Goes long. Goes high. Looks for Ryan. Ball off hands. Away it came to Hopper at the front. Ducked his head into a tackle. McIntosh received a hand pass. Then it came to Smith, just kicked it out of there. And all he did was turn it over to Vlostone. Right half forward, point of the square.
Too far out to score at the moment. Not that he's a big goal kicker, Nick Vlostone. He'll go long. Top of the goal square. Packer waits. Lynch is caught behind Murray, who actually ended up leading out in the end and takes a nice pack mark. It's a big afternoon for Nick Murray, the tallest defender down back for the Crows at 194 with Jordan Butts omitted. He hands it off, clearing kick by Dawson up to right half back. Intended for Fogarty, couldn't claim it. Spills down, that's a heavy tackle. Broad has just slung his opponent down to the ground. It's very dangerous. Trainers have charged out immediately. This is a real problem down on the boundary line. I'm trying to see who the player is, who's unfortunately,
I think it's Scholl,
turned away from us, but it was a heavy tackle. Broad lifted him, spun him in the air, and actually dumped him outside the boundary line.
It's Parnell.
Paddy Parnell playing his first game of the season, and he hasn't moved since he's hit the turf. Riley Thilthorpe is the sub for Adelaide. Wouldn't exactly be a like for like, but the concern here is for the health of the young man. He's been on his side ever since Broad ducked him, it will certainly be looked at.
Such a fine line on executing the perfect tackle, isn't it? They really hone in on that second action. And was it Broad that laid the tackle? Had him wrapped up, probably didn't need to finish off with the sling.
Bit of a mismatch there in terms of weight as well. Body size. Broad's certainly the bigger of the two. Parnell's the smallest player out there, and thankfully he's starting to move now. As he gets to his knees, the trainers have escorted him to his feet. Liz, what are you seeing down there?
Yeah, he's just stood up. You can hear the crowd behind me clapping, but he looks really woozy on his feet. Unsurprisingly, Riley Philthorpe is up out of his seat. He's the Crows tactical sub. He's starting to move around a bit. The coach, Matthew Nix, he coaches from the bench now. As soon as this tackle happened, he just stood up, worry all over his face. Parnell has just been taken down into the rooms, and Rory Sloane has just taken the kick in.
He looks very groggy, escorted down the race. How many weeks do you think, Loz?
I'll leave that up to the experts, I think, Aaron.
Down the line go the Crows. They've turned it over. Grimes in the pack. Gathers the footy, gives it to Baker. Inside to Hopper. Dangerous handball, but it works. Spinning out of trouble. Magnificent from short. Got away from two, but the kick is poor. Wide of Lynch. Takes a bounce. And over the boundary line, exactly where Parnell was dumped only moments ago. It is Richmond by 5 points.
What I will say is that hasn't shown, no one's shown a replay here at Adelaide Oval, and I think being that far over the boundary line, it's unlikely that they'll show it because it might cause a little bit of angst.
Ball comes back into play. Himmelberg probably had the best of it. Cochin picked it up, just handball forward in hope. Smith took it for Adelaide. They share it around, and then Sloane was given a terrible hospital handball. He got away with it. Now Schonberg down the line, looks for Murphy. Picking up was Pickett, dodged one, and then he was taken down in a big tackle. Wasn't slung. Walker will get the free kick after making the tackle. So right on centre wing, and Walker shares it outside to Sloane. Drops it over the top to half forward. Laird goes back, was met by Broad. Broad comes forward, gets the boos from the crowd. Hand passes just into space. Pickett comes through. He got a hand pass off to Bolton down to half forward. Murray, who's been every bit the measure of Lynch at the moment, gets a free kick as he attacks the ball. Sends it wide for Rochelle. We'll get down to Liz Walsh with more on what's happening with Patrick Parnell in a moment.
Up towards right half forward, Fogarty's been hit and all alone in the 50. He can send it in the path of Keys, but the kick got completely lost. Keys turned away from the footy, ran back with the flight and had no idea where it was going to drop, and it's taken a bounce over the boundary line. He was all alone.
He was in a fair bit of space, Ben Keys, but unfortunately looking directly into the sunshine and just couldn't see the drop of the footy.
I'm checking with Liz in a moment. Boundary throw in, 30 out from the Crows' goal. Trailing by 5 at the moment. Low scoring affair in the opening term. Walker's taken it straight out of the ruck against Ryan and turned it over. Handed it off to Cochin. Clearing kick for the Tigers. Banged it on the boot long and it worked for Lynch. Got away from Murray this time. Kicks over the top. Martin's in a 2-on-1. Takes the contested mark. Charging forward is short. Instead he goes long, centrally looking for Morris Rioli Jr. Caught behind Scholl. Bounces off the back of them to ground. Riewoldt on hands and knees. Shovels it out to short. Just puts it into space for Baker in the scoreboard pocket. Can gather clean, unopposed. Snap towards goal and tumble it through for a major. Richmond's third of the afternoon puts them up by 11 points. 3 straight 18. Adelaide 1-1-7. As we approach time on in the opening term on Grandstand AFL, Liz Walsh downstairs.
Nothing official yet from Adelaide, but we can only assume Riley Philthorpe's about to come into the game. He's got his number 7 jumper on. He's done a few little warm-up drills just in front of us.
Loz, great finish by Baker then, but we saw with Richmond's ball movement on the fast break, their ability, and obviously a great mark by Martin as well, but their ability to control the ball going forward and then get the ball into even numbers inside their forward 50.
Yeah, and perhaps the highest we've seen Tom Lynch lead up and had Nick Murray a bit higher up the ground, which allowed him to actually beat him for what felt like the first time today. And such a great finish from Baker. Really well done by Richmond to get out the back.
So Philthorpe's waiting at the interchange gates. Patrick Parnell officially out of the game, most likely, or obviously with concussion. Out of the middle comes Prestieri, who's run down. They almost had the break. Richmond. Rochelle picks it up off the left foot wide with his kick, looking for Saligo. He's at half forward. All over him is Vlostone. He picks it up and then buries his head. He might be caught holding the ball. He is. Umpire signals, yes, you had your opportunity and you ducked your head into the tackle. So the free kick will be taken for Scholl, and Adelaide will get a chance to go inside forward 50, keeps it low and hard, and coming on the lead was Walker. Ball fell over the back, it was tapped out to Soligo in the pocket, and his kick was astray, just a minor score. Murphy was the one who intelligently just moved the ball on quickly, but from the pocket, just a minor score. 1-2-8 Adelaide, Richmond 3 straight 18.
Clearing kick from the Tigers. It's a good one out of the goal square. Hits up down to Rioli at centre half back. Pops it short over the top to Graham. He's got Sloane on his tail, 3 to beat. He slaps it out looking for Baker. Fans wanted to throw there. Baker gathered but lost it. Stripped away by Rankin, who sold Himmelberg into immediate danger. He's gang tackled across half back and gives away the free kick for holding the ball. Richmond don't waste any time. Baker looks on the 45 to Martin, just in front of the benches. Swings around, puts it over the top to Bolton. Had a fly, but sticking the arm out in front is Michael Annie in his second game. Forces the boundary throw in, left half forward for the Tigers, who lead by 10.
So just about 20 metres from there is where Murphy comes off the ground, and Riley Thilthorpe has gone on for Adelaide. Not a like-for-like interchange that either, as the ball thrown back into play. Taranto over it, can't get it. Rochelle, just a hand pass in hope. It was picked up by Short for Richmond, running back to his defensive end and then hooks it over the shoulder down to half forward. Michael Annie did well. Picked it up half forward across the goals with a kick. Successfully, Soligo took it well. Off to Berry. Forward hand pass, they're running well, the Crows. It's over the top to Himmelberg, short to Walker, just outside 50. And he goes short to the running Rochelle. So Rochelle takes it 40 out. He did have an option there of Schonberg briefly, but he's decided to take the shot at goal.
Great work by the young lad Michael Annie in the back half there, not only to win the ball, but then use it by foot. And they saw the build-up of the Crows, really methodical going forward, knowing that Richmond have their back six set really well behind the ball. So to lower the eyes and then finish with a shot on goal by Rochelle now.
Pick 6 in 2021. Rochelle, for his 4th goal of the season, 3-1 last week against the Giants, comes in and he's hooked it for the minor score. Adelaide had this problem last week in front of goals. Down to the boundary, Liz Walsh.
Oh, just another minor concern for Adelaide, that Nick Murray, their defender, he's been in the hands of the doctor down here, dealing with what looked like quite a deep cut on his shin. But he's all stitched up, or not stitched, but bandaged up, and looks ready to go.
It would be a major issue if there was anything wrong with Nick Murray, considering how undersized the Crows have gone down back today. Richmond look to clear out to the eastern side. Adelaide have numbers, though, easily outmatching Richmond here on the wing, but they can't control it. Scholl doing battle with Dustin Martin, then becomes the tackler on Short. Squirts it over the boundary line through centre wing, right in front of the Max Bashir stand. It's the Tigers by 9 at the moment. Still a fair bit to play in this opening quarter. Earlier today, Collingwood defeating Port by 71 points. Aaron Bryans, Neil Cross, Lauren Arnell, Scott Thompson with you on Grandstand AFL. From the boundary throw in, Nankervis is tackled by O'Brien. We'll get a reset. Taranto matched up with Laird at the moment. Nankervis takes it out of the ruck and gives it to the former Giant. Then off to Short, who skies it. Clearing kick straight up and down, really. Charging across. Smith gets a fist on it, rolls over the boundary line just behind right half forward for the Tigers. Kicking to the northern end at the moment on Grandstand AFL.
Murmur going around the crowd. Big, important time in this match. 24 and a half down in the opening quarter. Adelaide has certainly been competitive, but they haven't put it on the board. They work it from out to Berry from the stoppage. He went for a hand pass for Smith, missed him. Michael Annie came through, couldn't get it. Taranto, or rather Hopper, just towed the ball forward and got it out in the forward pocket, about 25 around from the goal face, right forward pocket for Richmond.
Great crowd in attendance. The hill is full, Crossy, which didn't really see last week with the power, only 35,000 in. I think they break 40 today. Toss back in, it cleared Riley O'Brien in the ruck, but at the back, clean grab by Hinge. Retreats back to Dawson, who bangs it on the boot just for space out to the eastern side. Flying, Young couldn't bring it down for Richmond. Rankin was front and square, puts it over the top in the path of Pedler, bounces off Grimes and then kicks up towards left half forward. He's hit Thilthorpe, the sub is on, he spins, finds Himmelberg inside 50, coming across. Good job from Baker to bring it to ground. It looked like Elliott's to mark. And there's a whistle as Richmond look to exit defensive 50.
Down ground.
Down the field, free kick, it'll go to Morris Rioli Jr. It looked like Adelaide were about to go straight back in. And the two Riolis combine as Morris kicks it to his nephew in Daniel. And then on the 45 hits up Pickett right in front of the benches. Richmond leading by 9 at the moment. 3 straight 18 to 139. Over the top, Graham marks, a former Rooster back in South Australia once again. Hands it off to Pickett. Heads towards the top of the goal square for the Tigers. Lynch in front position, flew up and then was crunched. Coming across, Tuday completely took him out of it. Almost a hip and shoulder in the air. Hit the ground hard, but he's popped up okay. And the Crows can clear it out over the boundary line. Left half forward for the Tigers. Close to another entry coming here.
So deep into time on now. Tigers by 9 points. Ball comes back in. O'Brien gets to the front, brings it to the front. Martin picks it up, slips a hand pass to Prestia and then to Pickett and then back to Martin and then inboard he went, turned it over. Umpire spotted a free kick. He said Baker was illegally taken out of it and it'll be a free kick to Liam Baker. Straight off a hand to Martin from just inside the centre square, sends it into that right forward pocket. Ball comes off hand, Scholl picks it up, just tries to clear the area, turns it straight over. Vlostone with the mark just inside 50, chip short Taranto. 45, maybe 42, something like that from goal. And Tim Taranto, I'm not sure he has the leg over that distance.
Just twice now the Crows have given up score from a pressured kick coming out of D50 and just not wide enough. If you're going to give that rush kick, you've got to push it towards the boundary, be willing to give up a free against you if it goes over the line. But giving that kick straight down Vlostone's throat's going to hurt.
Tim Taranto, just the 2 behinds in his first game for Richmond last weekend, comes in. He does have the distance, not the accuracy. Well away to the right for the minor score. Richmond's first of the afternoon. 3-1-19 plays Adelaide 1-3-9. 27, nearly 28 minutes into this opening term.
Crows skipper Jordan Dawson to bring it back into play. Fair bit of the footy early. This will be his 5th touch. Heads out to left half back. It's a dangerous kick. Really made Sloan work for it back with the flight and he couldn't control it. Bolton can crumb. Now Richmond on the attack. Hands it off to Cochin. Prestia back to Bolton who kept running. Hands it forward. He could have gone for goal from 35. Instead tried to hit Taranto and missed him. Dawson charges out. He can't control it in the tackle. Sliding in Taranto puts his head over the football. May have caught one high. He's clutching his head. But the Crows won't care. They're rebounding through Keys. Up to left half back. Bolter charges from nowhere to cut it off with the intercept mark and then pierces it to Dustin Martin. 40 out, tight angle to the right scoreboard pocket. Messy football at the moment and a bit of carnage as well, but it's resulted in Dusty with the pill.
I know Keys wanted to honour the lead there with Walker coming at him, but coming out of your half-back line to a short 50-50 is probably not the kick the Crows were after there.
Dustin Martin from the tight angle will start outside the boundary line. It'll take something special. He's caught the belly of the ball across the goal face. There's a pack waiting and it looks like Ryan may claim it. Samson Ryan missed a ton of bodies. 206 centimetres, but didn't have to stick the arms up. Instead, he just pulled it to his chest at the back of the pack. Again on a tight angle, but man on the mark will be 5 metres out. He'll have to kick around the body. Samson Ryan for 2 1/4, opens the angle and curls it through. Richmond up by 16. 4-1-25, plays 1-3-9 as we approach quarter time, and Samson Ryan in his second game is having an impact on Grandstand AFL and ABC Radio, News Radio and Sport Digital. It is the Tigers by 16.
And Scott, this is the danger for the Crows, this front half footy that Richmond likes to play, and as you're suggesting, they're going to squash the ground, their defenders are going to come up really high, and they've kicked 3 goals, 1 from turnover already in this game, and it's just not looking like Crows can chain the ball out of their defence, particularly when Rich can pin it in a bit deeper. No,
we have seen, and that's a highlight of Richmond's game, is pressure on the ball, and we've seen it numerous times now deep in the Crows' back 50 where they've been under the pump, rush kicks, and the repeat entries, which over time puts the defenders under real pressure.
Samson Ryan with the goal for Richmond. Was a scholarship holder at Toowoomba Grammar in cricket. He was an opener apparently at 206 centimetres. Ball out of the middle. Tigers bring it forward again, this time through Cochin. Michael Annie got rid of his man, took the ball towards the boundary, possibly in the back. No, the umpire says throw it in. So it's at left half forward in the shade of the grandstand on this western side of the ground. And Richmond with the advantage, which is stretched now to 16 points as we close in on quarter time.
Toss back into play. Nankervis stands his ground against O'Brien from behind and puts it in the path of Pickett. Hands it forward to Prestia. Bangs it into the 50 for Richmond. One last roll of the dice, but Sloan reads it best and cuts it off 40 out from the Richmond goal face. Plenty happening at the Adelaide Oval. The Tigers by 16 at the first break, and the Crows have already activated their sub with Patrick Parnell out of the game through a dangerous tackle from Nathan Broad, who lifted him and spun him over the boundary line and will likely face weeks at the MRO in the coming days. Goal scorers at the first break for the Tigers, 2 to Samson Ryan in his second game, singles to Broad and Baker, and the one goal for the Crows coming through Darcy Fogarty at the start of the game, 50 seconds in. It's great to have you with us on ABC Radio, News Radio, Sport Digital and the ABC Listen app. This is Grandstand AFL.
What's the best thing in the world that's also on the ABC Listen app? The footy! This season, get your footy live and ad-free on the ABC Listen app. AFL, NRL, men's, women's. Whatever you fix, we've got you covered.
She's got it! Bye-bye! See you later!
Every goal, try, mark and tackle. Called by ABC Sports' expert commentary team.
Set, bingo!
AFL and NRL, live and ad-free. Get it on the ABC Listen app.
Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
The Crows on the counter. Barry heads up to right half forward. Walker gets some space. Marks unopposed. Centres his kick. Fogarty's all alone at the top of the goal square and can march in for the opener. Adelaide on the board first.
Adelaide come away, Laird clears it out. Just a quick hack kick. And there was a block there by Rankin. And so Broad will go back, and now it's 50 metres. And Broad, the defender, comes up with a goal. Lynch off a step across the goal face, and running and coming out and taking the mark is a debutant Ryan. The boy out of Queensland from the Sherwood Football Club. Kicks a goal.
He hands it off. Clearing kick by Dawson up to right half back. Intended for Fogarty, couldn't claim it. Spills down. That's a heavy tackle. Broad has just slung his opponent down to the ground. It's very dangerous.
Such a fine line on executing the perfect tackle, isn't it? Had him wrapped up, probably didn't need to finish off with a sling.
Rewalt on hands and knees, shovels it out to short, just puts it into space for Baker in the scoreboard pocket. Can gather clean, unopposed, snap towards goal and tumble it through for a major. It's caught the belly of the ball across the goal face. There's a pack waiting and it looks like Ryan may claim it. Man on the mark will be 5 metres out. He'll have to kick around the body. Samson Ryan for 2 1/4, opens the angle and curls it through. Richmond up by 16.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
The Tigers cruising at Adelaide Oval at the moment. They lead by 16 points at quarter time. 4-1-25, plays 1-3-9, and some injury concerns for the Crows as well, who have already activated their sub with Patrick Parnell off as a result of a dangerous tackle from Nathan Broad. Riley Thilthorpe into the game for the Crows, but they look a little lethargic out there at the moment. Richmond on turnover. Certainly dangerous here at the Adelaide Oval in front of a great crowd on a magnificent day. In Grandstand AFL earlier, Collingwood defeating Port by 71. And still to come, if you're listening in WA, you'll get Fremantle and North Melbourne. Everybody else, you'll head to the Docklands for the Western Bulldogs and St Kilda. If you want to hear either game, jump on the ABC Listen app. You'll find the Docklands game on the AFL button and the WA game on the extra button. Our experts this afternoon to break it all down. Put Adelaide coach in the AFLW, Lauren Arnell, and All-Australian midfielder Scott Thompson.
Well, Scott, it felt like that siren couldn't have come at a better time for the Crows. They started well, but Richmond just building so much momentum through the back half of that quarter, and mostly because they were allowed to play really front half footy, which is their style.
They were, and it started a lot of times at the stoppage, being able to generate field position from there. And we've spoken already about how Richmond's forward pressure's at an elite level. So when the Crows are trying to exit their back 50, they're under the pump all the time, and that's resulted in re-entries and shots on goal off the back of that.
And exciting for a young guy like Samson Ryan. I didn't realise he's from Toowoomba, Neil, but for a kid that's come out of Toowoomba, you'd be expecting him to be playing NRL, not playing for Richmond here at Adelaide Oval in round 2. He's had a really nice start, and you feel like even just the way that they're bringing the ball in when they're on slower play, Richmond just kicking to his advantage, allowing him to run and jump at the footy. It's a promising start for a young kid.
Yeah, amazing. A scholarship holder in cricket. At 206 centimetres, he was an opening batsman.
Batsman
I was going to say, you
bowler.
think he's a bowler.
Yeah. No, when I said opener, I meant batsman. So, yeah, that's
Crazy.
extraordinary. But, found the game only later, decided that he'd take it up, and, he's done all right.
For his size, moves very, very well.
Wasn't impressive early on either. He didn't have a touch in his debut in 2021, had a free against and a hit out. But last year in the VFL had 30 goals from 23 games, so he's certainly starting to find his feet at AFL level. Now let's head down to Liz and get an update on Patrick Parnell.
I'm still waiting to hear from the club about Patrick Parnell. I was actually going to check in with you about one other thing to keep an eye on. During that quarter-time break, Crow Taylor Walker was in deep conversation with their physios about his right ankle, and he received a little bit of treatment there, so I'll keep an eye on that one for you. And then Luke Pedler's just headed down into the Crows rooms with the doctor. I'll check in with the club about that too, but lots of injury concerns for the Crows right now.
A little bit of carnage downstairs. Some good news for D's fans, you can say. The results have come back from Melbourne captain Max Gawn's scans. He suffered a MCL sprain, so he's expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks, but it's not a season-ending injury, which some of us feared. So I think you'd take that as good news, Loz.
Yeah, obviously you never want a 4 to 6 week injury, but being early in the season and not being any worse than that, no doubt a better outcome than what it could have been.
Richmond by 16 at the Adelaide Oval at the first break. 4-1-25, plays 1-3-9. On the home side, the Crows will be kicking to the northern end to start this second term. Aaron Bryans, Neil Cross, Lauren Arnell, Scott Thompson and Liz Walsh with you for the call. Our leading possession getters at the moment, Dion Prestia with 10 for the Tigers. Dustin Martin and Marlon Pickett and Daniel Rioli and Jacob Hopper all have 8 as well. Meanwhile for the Crows, Rory Laird looking back to his best after a quiet week. Over in Sydney, he has 9 disposals, 2 tackles as well. A couple of ground ball gets to go with that. And Josh Rochelle seems right at home in the midfield with 7 disposals for the Crows. And that includes a clearance as well and a couple of contested possessions. How does the home side respond? Both sides looking for their opening win of the season. Feels like Richmond's to lose at the moment. Clean bounce in the middle. Nankervis wins it down looking for Taranto. In the air, got a handball over his head looking for Bolton, who fumbled. Hopper charges in and clashes with Berry. There's 2 Bulls. Comes out the Crows' way. O'Brien gives it off to Laird. Outside of the boot, inside 50. Hit and hope looking for Walker. Bounced just a little bit too short for him and clean bowled him in the end. Back to Vlostone, who can exit for Richmond. Good pull-in mark there by Camden McIntosh. He was entangled with Sloan out at left half back and reels it in. Now goes long with a booming kick through centre wing and hits up Cochin. Richmond on the counter here looking towards the 50. On the 45 he hits up Hopper. Finding plenty of the footy this afternoon after a relatively quiet debut. Heads inside 50 and Hopper finds Rewalt. On the lead, takes it out in front. 45 out, slight angle to the left.
Very efficient transition from Richmond from their back half, and a couple of really key contested marks, but otherwise you'd expect the Crows could apply a little bit more pressure on the footy coming down the ground.
Jack Riewoldt has only been goalless twice from 15 games here at the Adelaide Oval. He averages 2 goals a game. We'll start from inside the centre square. Kicks from just outside the 50. He's got plenty of it. Leaning back on the kick and straight over the goal umpire's hat. Magnificent finish, and Richmond strike first in the second. Took 90 seconds to get there, and they extend their lead to 22 points. 5-1-31, plays 1-3-9. Rewalt's on the board on Grandstand AFL.
Great start to the second quarter by Richmond. Just touched on, Loz, their ball movement from the back half then. Some good contested marking, but their execution was spot on the whole way down the field.
Yeah, it went quick, but also there was an element of patience about it. They were able to kick to space and take a breath at times, change angles, and the space that Jack Riewoldt had to lead into. Really, really well done by Richmond when they lost centre bounce.
15 games at the Adelaide Oval for Revolt, averaging 11 possessions and 2 goals. Liz Walsh on the boundary.
Yeah, Crows have confirmed the concussion for Patrick Parnell, but thankfully he's actually just come up from the rooms, got a little bit of a clap, and he's sitting on the bench.
So ball back in the middle. O'Brien has the tap down into space. Nankervis followed up, almost got boot to ball. Laird broke away. Hand pass was smothered by Taranto. It got to Rochelle now. He's slammed down in Taranto's tackle. Forces another ball up. And that's slightly towards the front end of the square for Richmond. It'll go in the air.
Nankervis and O'Brien again colliding in the middle. One down by Nankervis, straight towards Rochelle. He's trying to bulldoze his way through Cochin, but can't get away. Another reset coming. As Richmond edge closer towards its attacking 50. Tap down to McIntosh, hands it off to Hopper, then back to Taranto. Off a step, heads up towards the arc. Morris Rioli put it down, but Martin charges through, getting away from Scholl. Back to Taranto, bangs it in again. Short ball that bounces awkwardly for Hinge. Rewat flew but couldn't bring it down. Crows have numbers at the back. Duday looks wide, hits up Saligo at right half back. Just inside the defensive 50. Down the line, he's looking for Walker. It was a dangerous kick with Bolter on his tail. And the Richmond defender did well to spoil it over the boundary line. Left half forward for the Tigers now, kicking to the Riverbank stand end. About 55 out from this boundary throw-in.
Tigers by 22 points. Ball comes back into play. They need one now, the Crows. At least they've got the ball, but only briefly. Laird turned it over. Bolton received the hand pass in the end and kicks it long. Ball comes off Murray's hands at the back. Hinge took it, tried to get through Martin, stumbled, had to hand pass it out. Michael Annie was good, gave it away to Dawson. It was going to be a free kick advantage down the ground. Michael Annie was hit late, as a little bit off the ball afters too. It was Lynch who did it, so it's got to the boundary line at left half back for Adelaide, and Murray's got the ball in hand, having taken a mark.
Looking for some options. No one's really presenting. He goes long, almost caught the side of the boot in the exit, up towards the western wing. Baker got hands to it, couldn't bring it down. Hopper's getting tackled, he loses it. Turnover. Crows now through Berry. Inside to Rochelle to Laird, who gave it straight to Graham. Richmond are away. Baker into the 50, hits up the lead of Lynch. Richmond had the numbers on the counter. Both sides thought they were about to head towards the attack. And Richmond won out there. That's a poor disposal from Rory Laird, and Tom Lynch will have a shot on goal with the man on the mark, 40 out, slight angle to the left. I wouldn't say the match winner, but it was certainly the star player in the back end of that draw against Carlton last week. The brilliant pack mark, Tom Lynch. Comes in for his first of the afternoon. It's long, but it's accurate. Richmond on fire at the Adelaide Oval. Tom Lynch has his first. 2 straight to start the second term as the Tigers advance to a 28-point lead. 6-1-37 plays 1-3-9. We've played 5 minutes in the second on Grandstand AFL. Your experts, Lauren Arnell and Scott Thompson.
Well, it's very hard to defend that when you're streaming through the middle of the ground in offence and it turns over by an execution error. Tom Lynch, again, a huge amount of space to lead into.
Yeah, you're right. You wouldn't want to be a key defender trailing behind Lynch leading up after that turnover. Richmond have kicked 6 goals, 1, 5 goals, 1 from turnover.
So they're 28 points ahead, Richmond, and it's been clinical at times. Very good in front of goals. Round 1, they kicked 8 goals, 10, but they've got 6-1 this afternoon on the board thus far. Ball in the middle, and straight out of the middle, Bolton takes it off the Ruckman's tap, down to half forward, kicks long to the goal face, bounces up high, and advantages Hinge, who takes it through for the minor score. So a rush behind in the end. Just shows a little bit of referred pressure there. Hinge wasn't taking any chances, like taking possession and turning to see what was coming at him. Instead took it through for the rush behind.
Dawson plays on from the defensive goal square, heads long to a 3-on-3 at left half back. Rochelle got a hand to it, couldn't pull it down. Baker on hands and knees trying to pull it out. Just can't wrench it away from the Crows attackers. Pickett's in there as well. He's got Michael Annie on his tail and brought to ground. We'll get a ball up right half forward for the Tigers. On the text line 0437 774 774, Judd and Jude in Collins, WA say this September is 5 years with no television. All we have is ABC radio. Thanks for the call on Grandstand AFL. It's a ripping yarn. Adelaide get the clearance. Saligo trying to get a kick away. Richmond in the end go towards right half forward through Hopper to Shaw. Puts it in the path of Lynch, and he's claimed it just inside the boundary line. That was a tight call. 10 out, right on the paint. The tightest of angles, right forward pocket for Tom Lynch, but he can produce some wonders.
Richmond's prime movers really getting busy through the middle of the ground now. Hopper's up to 12. Great recruit for the club. Taranto as well, getting his hands on the ball.
Lynch goes for the check side, opens the angle, but goes across the face of the goal, and in the end it's out on the full. Free kick to the Crows, right back pocket.
Sloane takes it, goes straight back. 20 metres from goal to Duday. He picks off a good kick into the corridor. Berry takes it wide with his kick. Wasn't good for McElhaney. McElhaney follows up on the ground though. Ball to Baker. Wide hand pass. Bounced it up to Bolton. He cracks his ball long towards Rewalt. Over the back. It's taken in the end by Hinge. Goes around. Arcs to his left foot. Comes back this side, the broadcast side of the ground. Finds some grass over the back of the players. Rioli was there. Daniel Rioli running the wrong way. Follows up though. Picks the ball up. Goes short. Dangerous. McElhaney forces it. And then it's thrown out in the end. And it'll be a free kick for Adelaide. Pickett was on the bottom of the pack. McElhaney was over him.
Umpires had no choice but to call a free kick there. We could hear the call of throw from the whole crowd up here.
So Rochelli to take the kick. He'll play on immediately and head towards the 50. He's got a lead of O'Brien. He's sandwiched by 3 Richmond defenders. Front and square was Hopper. Spin through a couple of tackles and handed it off to Cochin, who caught a late one high. It was just a stray hand. It was enough, though, that Richmond can slow things down and take the free kick across half back. And it was Berry who just stuck the air and arm out. So the former premiership skipper supposed to be playing a new half-forward role, but we haven't really seen him there much across the last couple of weeks. Heads up to centre wing looking for Pickett. Couldn't claim it in the mark. Spilled down. Presti almost turned it over. Morris Rioli came in to assist. Centering kick for McIntosh. Spoiled away. Pedler got there. Looked like the Crows were away, but Young read it best, the debutant. Gathered and gave it to Broad. Now Richmond on the eastern side. Prestia heads to the left forward pocket. Rewatt's got some space. Hinge came late with the spoil though. Spills to the back. Charging onto it. Hinge may have been taken down by Graham without it. It rolls through for a minor score on the left-hand side and they'll give it. So the Tigers' lead extends to 30 points. It'll be 6-3-39 playing 1-3-9 as we approach the 10-minute mark of the second term.
The Tigers playing with more and more offensive confidence as we go. Really well handled there by Hinge to get it over the boundary line.
Dawson in short to Hinge, takes the mark. Comes to this broadcast side of the ground to Murray. Just outside defensive 50 for the Crows. The path forward not clear. Murray just sends her high down the line. And good mark, I thought, taken by Saligo. It was called play on. Saligo picked it up off the ground, gave it to Rankin. His kick for Walker wasn't fantastic, but Walker was able to go back and rake it in with one hand. 40 out, hard against the boundary line. So Taylor Walker, we know the brilliance of his kicking. This will be badly needed by the Crows. If he puts this through, it's very much a team lifter, but trailing by 30 points. The Crows, they need a lift. Walker steadying, just taking his time. 1 goal, 2 last week in the Crows' loss. Starts at left, stays left, minus score. 1-4-10 for Adelaide, plays 6-3-39 for Richmond. 11 minutes down now in the second term, and that's Adelaide's first score.
Haven't kicked a goal since Darcy Fogarty opened proceedings at the 52nd mark of the opening term. Richmond's 6 straight since. The Tigers head up to the western wing. Kick from Broad hits up Lynch, far from home. Behind the logo. Looks to right half forward again. Graham's got some space, but the kick is poor to him. Coming across, it's a good spoil from Smith. Comes to ground. Gathered by Scholl. Tried to get it off to a runner on the outside in Schomburg. The Tigers cut it off though. Good job from Pickett there to charge in the way and really put his body on the line as he's brought down in the tackle. Ball up right in front of us. Broadcast wing. A couple of hands. Hopper managed to get it to Nankervis on hands and knees. Underground handball found Scholl instead. Round the body, he heads up towards the 50 for the Crows. Tyler Young gets the rise with a double fist. Back to Bolter. They'll reset. The kick is a bit poor though. Long towards McIntosh, defensive goal scorer. He's in a bit of a pickle here. Sloane's on his tail. He ran out of room. Clearing kick towards Daniel Rioli. Turns it over. Good pressure from the Crows. Thilthorpe takes it. Lowers the eyes. Centres his kick. But two Crows players went for it. Laird got in the path of Walker and he lost the flight of the ball. Richmond can now counter. Hopper gets it off to Morris Rioli. Takes a bounce. He centres his kick. Looking for Prestia. Himmelberg comes across with the spoil. Rebounding now Adelaide. Frenetic football at the Oval. Keys hands it off towards Laird. Run down in the tackle. Just got boot to ball. Trickles to Fogarty. You can't control it. And now Grimes gets it out to Prestia. Richmond can reset.
Prestia to Graham on centre wing on that eastern side of the ground. Takes the mark straight off to Morris Rioli. 40 goes to Hopper at centre half forward around the ruckman. O'Brien easily from 40. He kicks the goal. Lovely finish. Transition play by Richmond. And they've kicked their 7th of the afternoon. The first for Hopper. And it's 7-3-45. Plays 1-4-10.
Loz, bit of ping-pong football there for a while. I think the Crows' intensity's gone up in the last couple of minutes, but their execution has been terrible. And then we see Richmond there and Hopper taking a mark forward to centre. And if there's one bloke on the ground you want on the mark that you could step, it's Riley O'Brien. So unfortunate for the Crows, that big Rob was on the mark, and a great finish from Hopper.
Yeah, really classy finish, as you said, but it just felt like the Crows are building a little bit of momentum, a little bit of time in their forward 50, and as you said, couldn't execute, and Richmond again. Now they're up to 6 goals, 2 from turnover.
The voices of Lauren Arnell and Scott Thompson on Grandstand AFL. Jacob Hopper had 18 disposals in his club debut last week. He's on track to beat that heading into half-time. We've still got 10 minutes to play. He's on 15. Tigers by 35. And another clearance as well. Ryan gets it down to Taranto. Hands it over the top to Pickett. Sells some candy, then hands it over the top to Graham, who's all alone. 55 out and kicks into the 50 to Rewalt. Hits him on the chest with ease, and the Crows' defence looks lost.
I think good time to shout out Tim Taranto in only his second official game at a new club. He's up to 11 disposals now and really making an impact out of centre bounce.
Yeah, you're right, Loz. Taranto was dominant last week, and we're seeing it again today. But the centre bounce was an area in the back half of last week's game for the Crows where they really fell down.
Man on the mark, 30 out. Rewalt straight in front, easy as you like. The Tigers have 8 unanswered goals since the opening minute of this contest. And they're up by 41 points. 8-3-51 plays 1-4-10. It is getting ugly at the Adelaide Oval. 15 minutes into the second term on Grandstand AFL.
Scott, I'm interested in your thoughts. There's obviously enormous momentum and Richmond have got a serious run on since early in the first quarter. What can the Crows do differently at centre bounce? It looks like they've thrown Sloane in there. Oh, Sloane's again on a wing. What can they do?
It's a great point you make with Sloane. I thought they should have done that last week, but as a previous captain, as someone that's spent so much time in the middle of the ground, when you are under the pump, you want some leadership in there, a calm head, someone that can help guide the other boys around the ball.
Down to Liz Walsh on the boundary.
Yeah, now it's Riley Thilthorpe who's in a bit of pain with his right knee. The doctor's just had to rub some ice across it. He's sitting on the bike at the moment. I'll keep an eye on him for you.
So, Tigers in charge. What can Adelaide do out of the middle again? It's out into space. Bolton almost. He overran it for Richmond. It's picked up by Smith at the back end of the centre square for Adelaide. Hacks it down to right half forward. Bolter left his man. Now on the ground. Ball in dispute. It was actually Young, the debutant, who left his man and forced the ball up. Had left half back for Richmond out on the eastern side of the Adelaide Oval. Massive 41-point lead halfway through the second term for the Tigers. Now the ball sent in the air. Laird got a kick forward out of the pack and Fogarty led the way to the ball. So Fogarty takes the mark ahead of Young. And he goes back over the boundary line out there at right half forward. And he'll have to kick this every bit of 55, maybe 60 metres. We know that he is capable of it. So Fogarty starts his run in. Put a bit of a hitch and then goes whack. And he's got the distance and he hits the right post. Not far away, but Adelaide still, the inaccuracy continues. 1-5-11 to Richmond, 8-3-51. Crossed over 17 minutes in their second term.
Inaccuracy plagued them last week as well, the Crows. 12-18-90 against the Giants in that loss over East. Clearing kick from Vlostone hits Bolter at right half back. Wheels and wants to go straight up the wing on the western side. Himmelberg with a nice pack mark. Over the top of Rewalt. Nice little spin in the air as well. Probably won't win mark of the week, but certainly a good shout. Thinks it wide towards the boundary line to Dawson. Crows just behind centre wing, trailing at the moment by 40 points. They head up towards the 50. O'Brien's in front position, went straight through his hands. At the back, Rochelle goes to ground trying to gather. He's battling at the moment with Grimes for the ball. Can't pull it out, so we'll get a ball up. Right half back for the Tigers, left half forward for the Crows. Kicking to the northern end, or the left of your radio dial. O'Brien fists it down straight to Taranto though. Hands it off to Short, off a step. Kicks up towards the logo on the western side. Awkward bounce for Dustin Martin. Doesn't matter. Manages to pull it away from 3 players. Races towards the bench and then rolls it up to right half forward looking for Graham. He pulled down Schomburg after he got rid of the ball. No whistle. Adelaide control the footy anyway. Switch across the defensive 50 as Smith goes to Hinge. And then out to right half back. Pedler will mark. And dink it in the path of Scholl. Marks unopposed behind centre wing.
Straight down the line he goes to Walker on the leader. Only a 20-25 metre chip. Walker looks around. Just ahead of centre wing. Down to half forward. Looks for Rochelle. He went up. Couldn't take the mark. Taranto. Interesting hand pass. Umpire called play on. Adelaide have numbers. And was it dragged in? No, said the umpire. We'll get a ball up. Vlostone. Last man up. Ball tucked under his arm. Hard against the boundary out there, just outside the 50 for Adelaide.
Tossed up, right half forward for the Crows. Attempted clearing kick coming from Scholl, but it's smothered by Jacob Hopper, so we'll try again. Gives me a bit of time to tell you about the great yarn that is Tyler Young, the debutant for Richmond today. He's played pretty well so far, the 3 touches, but looks pretty solid down back. This is his 4th year playing footy. He used to be a soccer player at Albury. He's found his way into the VFL, Richmond VFL, and now playing senior football in 4 years. Off the pack, it spills to Grimes. Hands it back to Pickett. Races away on the boundary line. Was tight, but got the kick away, looking for Martin. Bounced off Duday. Falls to ground. Berry on top of it and caught one high as well. Taranto came in and offended. Free kick to the Crows, forward of centre wing, eastern side. Trailing by 40. Sam Berry looks to go back. Kicks it into the centre square to Murray. He's calling for a lead and then kicks it straight into Lynch on the mark. Under a bit of pressure now. There's no one in the forward 50 for Richmond. If they did get the ball, it won't matter because Murray can compose himself. Short little kick to Himmelberg and now out towards the benches. He finds Sloan. Called to play on. He'll head up towards the 50. Good mark from Pedler. Held his ground with Baker coming from the side. Takes it on the paint of the 50. Tight angle on the left. Got Sloan running on the outside. Won't use him. Walker's retreated back to the goal square alongside Fogarty. But it looks like Pedler's going to go for home here. Man on the mark, 49 out. Pedler on the left. Put a lot of power in it, but didn't quite get the ball drop there. It's out on the full as it catches the side of his left boot. Free kick Richmond right back pocket. They lead by 40. 8-3-51 plays 1-5-11 on Grandstand AFL.
Vlostone with the free kick. Thought he stepped into play, then stepped back, but the umpire said, no, that's all okay. Vlostone kicks long down the line, and Himmelberg comes late, takes a strong mark. So he'll send the Crows forward again. Hesitates and then kicks it long. I'm not sure Rochelle was the man he should have been aiming for. Ball comes to ground as Bolter went up to take the mark. He was interfered with, said the umpire, hence the boos of the crowd. Not happy with that decision. Noah Bolter will get the free kick for Richmond. 25 out, basically straight in front of the defensive goal for Richmond. Scoreboard, the old scoreboard in the background reads very well for the Tigers. 8-3 plays 1-5. Bolter now to send the ball to the eastern side. Boos of the crowd, or the reaction of the crowd as a free kick was shown on the big screen.
Up to the eastern side. Plenty of players around the footy. Laird manages to pull it out. Gave it to Scholl, who dummied around Pickett. Nearly run down by Morris Rioli. Got the kick away looking for Rochelle. He did enough. Double tap down to Laird right in front of him. Kicks it to Keys. Then centres towards Walker, who marks 30 out straight in front. A chance to finally break the drought for the Crows.
Important kick here for Walker, but what we've seen in the last minute or two is just a little bit more pressure on the ball from the Crows just to generate a few forward-half turnovers.
So Taylor Walker had 5 on Richmond last year in round 5. Barely sighted so far this afternoon. They need this. Boots cross the paint of 50. Long reproach for Walker. Leans back on the kick and sprays it right. Minus score for the Crows, 1-6-12. They trail Richmond 8-3-51. Time on in the second on Grandstand AFL. Your experts, Lauren Arnell and Scott Thompson.
Nick Wallstone to bring the ball back into play. Runs out to that eastern side, runs his full measure and maybe a bit more, and then sends it long, and a good mark taken there by Duday. Intercept ahead of the debutant Ryan for the Tigers. Duday now plays on. Sends a ball back deep for the Crows. Bolter with a smack away. Ball bounces up. Taranto just knocks it away in the direction of Rioli. Morris. Adelaide get control through Scholl and then Keys, and back he went. Smith sent it long in, and Nankervis stands up, 25 from goal, takes a defensive mark easily for the Tigers and sends it wide. Short running, takes it in stride, able to play on straight away. Down the line was Bolton, ahead of him is Rewalt. Rewalt, 60 from goal, right half forward, looks back inboard. More runners, available was Graham, took the mark, played on, kicked the goal. Again, brilliant ball work. Skills on display from Richmond. They knew where they were going and they found a path forward very easily right around Adelaide. 9-3-57 Richmond. The Crows 1-6-12, approaching the 25-minute mark in this second term. Your experts on Grandstand AFL, Lauren Arnell and Scott Thompson.
Loz, I'm not sure that kick going inside 50 for the Crows was the right option, but someone had to compete on that ball, because when it did turn over, the offensive transition for Richmond there, they had players out everywhere.
Let's head in downstairs and check in with Liz Walsh on the boundary.
I'm just giving you an update as to the crowd here, which is feeling really upset. I'm actually sitting next to a little kid who's just put his Crows beanie all the way over his face and has held his head in his hands.
I wonder if that kid has ever seen a Crows win, like the Hawthorn show has never seen the Hawks win.
Sorry picture.
It's a great crowd in attendance this afternoon, but the Crows have not turned up for it. There'll be a lot of factors in that. Richmond playing exceptionally well. It's a 6-day break off a 36-degree game for the Crows, but they certainly haven't delivered so far this afternoon. Richmond by 45. Another clearance attempted here by Hopper as he raced away from the ruck contest. Was brought down in the Berry tackle, and the umpire gives him the benefit of the doubt. Ball up to come from Razor Ray Chamberlain. O'Brien wins it down looking for Keys. Gets it off to Scholl, then Rankin. High ball into the 50 for Adelaide. Thilthorpe got a run at it. Sport away from him. Spills just outside the attacking 50. Berry dropped the shoulder and caught one high. Slipped to a knee as Nankervis came in. There was already a height mismatch. He was no chance. Free kick Crows. Berry heads to the top of the goal square. Rankin juggles the mark. Top of the goal square in his 50th game. Isaac Rankin's the saviour they need. He's looked happy since coming back to South Australia. Was always a dazzling product on the Suns. And now as a Crow, he has one at home. Back to a 39-point game. Adelaide finally have their second as we approach half-time. 2-6-18. Richmond 9-3-57 on Grandstand AFL.
Well, we can see the Crows players getting to Rankin and giving him a pat on the back, but I'd like to see more of them go to Berry. He's the guy that turned up and made a contest at ground level in his front half and actually created that goal. So that's what's going to be required for them to actually get back into this game, is they're getting enough footy inside 50 but they're not creating enough of a contest, and a lot of that is coming from them sending one or two extras into stoppage outside 50, which leaves Richmond's defenders. We know they like to sink numbers behind stoppage. Well done, Berry, for creating that goal.
Now, is there time for a repeat set for Adelaide? O'Brien goes against Nankervis, who jumps high. O'Brien has the tap down. In fact, Nankervis got it back, and then O'Brien, and was Nankervis taken down without the ball? No, he was. That's what the ruling is. So Nankervis plays on with a hand pass out to Daniel Rioli. Chips to half forward, Taranto. Got a ball of his own out there. He's at left half forward. Kicks it long and deep. And the Crows have a couple at the ball, but Lynch sits at the back, and off the left foot he snapped another one. Too easy for the Tigers. Second for Tom Lynch for the afternoon. Didn't have to work very hard for that one. He just stayed down. The pack collapsed. Ball went out the back. And from about 15, 20 metres out with the left foot, he got the goal.
Far too easy for Richmond there, but it started again back in the middle, and that's why Richmond value Nankervis so highly. Not only does he compete in the air, the way he hunts the footy and pressures the ball for him is elite on the ground level too.
All the hard work of the Crows comes undone in a matter of moments, Loz. It's a very impressive display by the Tigers, and there is some serious danger signs here for the Adelaide Football Club.
Yeah, I think there can't be too long left in the half. I think what you want to see as a Crows supporter is you want them to crack in, at least try and win centre bounce or slow the Richmond team down.
Great to have Lauren Arnell, Scott Thompson with us this afternoon on Grandstand AFL. Aaron Bryans and Neil Cross with you for the call in the middle. Shoveled handball out from Taranto. Heads up towards half forward looking for Short. He's beaten to it by Smith, who spun away, gave it off towards Laird, dinks it to O'Brien, then to the runner Schomburg. Piercing kick hits Fogarty. True centre half forward.
He doesn't look overly interested in sharing the footy around. I know he's got a good leg. There he is.
On the 45, he popped it short to Dawson. I'd argue that wasn't 15, but it's been paid. Still inside the centre square, so it hasn't really helped. Dawson will play on, race towards centre half forward. He heads to the top of the goal square. Fly from Murphy, comes down. Philthorpe can crumb and snap for a goal. The little man went up, the big man stayed down. All that matters is it's a goal at the northern end for Adelaide. 3-6-24, Richmond 10-3-63 as we approach half-time on Grandstand AFL.
If there's something to grasp onto in these last few minutes, Scott, I mean, Adelaide have only had 6 less inside 50s. If you can create a contest in your forward 50, you're actually giving yourself a chance.
Absolutely. They've had their chances throughout this second quarter, and Fogarty probably could have gone a little bit faster on that play there. He allowed the Richmond defenders to get back and get set. So an element of luck, but well done to the Crows to compete in the air and win it at ground level.
Just looking through the statistics, incredibly, from the way the game has gone, the centre clearances are only 6-5 in favour of Richmond. I would have thought they were more dominant than that. Certainly, if Adelaide gets a clearance, Richmond certainly sends it back with interest. So here we go again. We'll be on 30 minutes in this second term, close to half-time. O'Brien with a tap down. Umpire says it wasn't a contest, so I'm going to throw it up. It was only not a contest because Nankervis just stopped and conceded. The ball was still within the larger of the circles. Now Nankervis steps across in front, knocks it down. Bolton comes through and he's gone. Outside, he goes with a kick outside the square, long and direct, and the ball comes off hands. Adelaide have some numbers here. Michael Annie spilt it, and now he comes back to grab Lynch in a tackle. Lynch threw it out, and then Riewoldt threw it out, and then Morris Rioli kicked it through for the goal. Surely there was a throw in there somewhere. No. So the Tigers answer again with a break from centre clearance. It's Richmond 11-3-69, Adelaide 3-6-24, and it was Short who was on the end of that. I thought it was Morris Rioli.
Well, exciting for Richmond fans. You can see they're so efficient, so fast, and just such a great ability to score. To be putting on a score like this going into half-time, similar to Collingwood areas of this afternoon.
Even when it isn't pretty, Tomo, they seem to be getting it done.
Well, we just touched on the centre bounce and how the numbers aren't too out of whack for the Crows, but what you do notice is Richmond's hit-outs to advantage are 6-0 from centre bounce.
Nankervis had a brilliant game against Carlton last week. Career high 11 tackles, also had 37 hit-outs and seems to be winning the battle today against O'Brien. Speaking of, takes it out of the ruck and clears it out to right half forward. He's put it in the path of Bolton, gathers unopposed and then retreats with the handball to Pickett. They've got 14 seconds to try and muster another score and they'll run out of time because it's a great defensive tackle from Laird, who holds up Taranto. Right half forward. Ray Chamberlain will ball it up. Again, Nankervis out muscling O'Brien. Won it down. He's looking for Cochin, who's wrapped up by O'Brien. Can't get it away. Time trickles away. And the boos and the jeers from the home side encapsulates the performance of the Adelaide Crows in that opening half. The siren almost didn't come soon enough. Richmond are dominating here on the road. 11-3-69. Adelaide 3-6-24. They kicked the first goal of the game, the Crows. Didn't kick another until the 26-minute mark of the second term. Richmond running riot around the ground in the middle and up forward. Their goal scorers so far, 2 to Ryan, Lynch and Rewalt. Singles to Baker, Short, Hopper, Graham and Broad. Meanwhile for the Crows, singles to Thilthorpe, Rankin, Fogarty. It's not all sunshine and roses though for Richmond. Nathan Broad will be missing a couple of weeks, you'd expect, with a very dangerous tackle on Patrick Parnell. He lifted and turned him over the boundary line and dumped him. It resulted in a concussion. So Parnell has been subbed out of the game for Thilthorpe. And Nathan Broad will be expecting to see some charges come his way in the next 24 hours. Still to come today, Fremantle and North Melbourne and Western Bulldogs and St Kilda. You can hear both of those games on the ABC Listen app. If you're in WA, you'll be headed to Perth Stadium, and everybody else, you'll be headed to the Docklands. To wrap things up, though, at half-time on ABC Radio, News Radio and Sport Digital and the ABC Listen app, Lauren Arnell and Scott Thompson with their thoughts.
Scott, just a really dominant first half for Richmond.
It was largely throughout that first half. Richmond had the game on their terms. Their pressure on the ball was outstanding. Crows' execution didn't help, but that was probably off the back of some of the good pressure from Richmond, which then eventually turns into perceived pressure. And, you know, for the majority, we saw Richmond able to play the game they wanted to play. And Crows need to get some of their better, more experienced players into the game. Like their midfielders, Laird's had a stack of it, but you take him away, you know, the likes of Pedlar's barely touched it, Berry's barely touched it, Rankin maybe, can they inject him through the middle of the ground a bit? He's only had the 5 touches, kicked a goal late in that quarter. But for Richmond, their 2 boom recruits have had 29 disposals between them in that first half. So we've seen how important only 2 rounds in that Hopper and Taranto have been for Richmond.
It's incredible to think a team like Richmond can add 2 players of that quality in the off-season at the same time. It's they couldn't be more impressive at this point, and particularly Hopper with 15 disposals going at 80% efficiency says a lot about the class that he's added to the side. And I think just the other side for me is 8 different goal kickers for Richmond. It just shows a spread of their whole team just willing to turn up and get the job done, and it makes it very difficult to defend 8 goal kickers in the first half.
It's not unheard of to add 2 star players to your roster heading into a new season, Loz, is it? Janelle Cuthbert's and Ashwood didn't ring any bells?
Yeah, look, certainly very pleased with our off-season to this point. A very different climate of AFLW compared to AFL men's, I will say that. But, yeah, look, from my perspective in my main role at Port Adelaide, I'm very pleased with our off-season so far.
The back line for the Crows, I was a little worried heading in, the fact that they'd omitted Jordan Butts, that they looked a little undersized. Nick Murray at 194 is their tallest defender, and Samson Ryan is out there at 206. I don't think height has been the problem, but structure certainly isn't working right now.
Yeah, and when you talk about structure, I think I squeezed it in a little bit towards the back end of that second quarter. We know for years now Richmond have been willing to give up stoppage and hold their defensive structure behind the ball. And so the Crows are sending a couple of extras around the footy, around stoppage. So when they do win stoppage, that's fine, but they're just giving it back to Richmond, and that's why Richmond are able to score so efficiently off turnover, because they've got one, sometimes at least +1, sometimes +2. It just gets them into space really quickly, and it opens up the Crows. And for guys like Nick Murray, who's trying his heart out, it's pretty difficult to beat someone like Tom Lynch on a lead when the ball's coming off the fat side.
Yeah, and Elliot Himmelberg went back and did a few good things throughout the back half of that second quarter. But you're right, turnovers is killing the Crows. So some of that comes with Richmond's good pressure, some just poor decision-making with their execution. We saw one through the middle of the ground where I think it was Laird at the time, missed handball. You just cannot defend that play. And we've touched on stoppages. As much as Richmond are happy to lose that, they're actually on top in that area as well. So not only are they winning stoppage and gaining field position, they can get their defence set, which we know how hard they are to penetrate.
So if you're Matthew Nicks at half-time, Scott, this is a bit of a pressure question for you. Do you actually draw one of those high forwards out of stoppage and ask him to at least try and go one-on-one or leverage a couple of those spare defenders and create more of a contest?
Yeah, I think so. We've seen the likes of Saligo, Keys, Rochelle go up around the ball and try and generate an extra. Yeah, they might get their hands on the ball at times, but we've already touched on the fact that when they do go forward, Richmond are so well drilled and disciplined to be able to generate that extra and isolate him and put him in good position. So do the Crows go 6-6-6 all over the ground and try and equalise the numbers? Maybe. But at the same time, we've already touched on the fact that Richmond are dominating around the ball as well. So it's a tough one for the Crows, but I'd probably be leaning towards evening up the numbers.
Well, you have to try something, don't you? Because so far having the extras around the footy hasn't really worked, unfortunately, for the Crows.
Great to have Lauren Arnell and Scott Thompson with us on Grandstand AFL this afternoon. Aaron Bryans and Neil Cross with you for the call, and Liz Walsh down on the boundary as well. It's been an imposing display by a brutal Tigers outfit. I mean, they showed some signs last week against Carlton, but it's starting to come together here at the Adelaide Oval, which is danger signs for the Adelaide Crows, who are fresh off a poor second half against the Giants, and it looks like they could be facing another disappointing loss to start their campaign. 0-2 with a tough run to come. They've got Port, Freo and Carlton in their next three. Richmond, meanwhile, have Collingwood on Friday night, the Western Bulldogs after that, and Sydney on the Friday following. So some tricky fixtures coming up for both sides, but Richmond certainly looking the better of the two at the moment. 11-3-69, plays 3-6-24 at the major break. We're back with you with some scores from around the country, including the Sheffield Shield final and also the netball. And we'll have a chat a bit through we'll run through some of your texts on the text line 0437 774 774. But for now, on ABC Radio, News Radio, Sport Digital and the Listen app, let's get the latest from the ABC newsroom.
Hello, this is ABC News with David Rowlands. There's just under an hour to go until polling booths across New South Wales close, with millions of people having already cast their votes in the state election. Kira Proust has more.
Victory in today's state election will be a battle for both Labor and the Liberal Nationals, as neither party has a majority and both need to win at least 47 seats. Premier Dominic Perrottet spent the day delivering his final pitch to voters across some key Sydney seats.
We've worked very hard.
Labor leader Chris Minns was also in Sydney today.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to their verdict and the campaign being over.
More than 1.5 million early votes were cast this year, with millions more coming through today. The count will begin in an hour once voting closes at 6 p.m.
And against the backdrop of the worst natural disasters in New South Wales history and critical land use issues, regional independence could play a key role in the makeup of the next parliament. Kelly Fuller explains.
Fishkill's drought and land use conflict contributed to the Nationals' major loss of the Barwon electorate in 2019. 4 years on, a fresh fishkill in Menindee is playing out against this election, and the former shooters, now independents in Barwon, Roy Butler, and in Murray, Helen Dalton, are questioning the government's slow response to the clean-up. The shape of a potential hung parliament could change dramatically if all the former shooters are re-elected as independents. The Nationals have relentlessly targeted the former shooters, and any inland independents may find it hard to reconcile that hostility in a deal for a minority government.
Brisbane youth advocates say many children under Queensland government care are living on the streets. Outreach services say hundreds of children have left their foster, residential or kinship placement, and for many that means homelessness. This youth worker, who wants to remain anonymous, says they often don't have a choice.
There is nowhere for them to go, and they're not choosing to do that. A lot of the time they're made homeless because child safety won't find them a suitable placement, and where they were was unsafe or it was closed and they weren't actually allowed to return.
Director General of Queensland's Department of Children and Youth Justice, Deirdre McKellar, disagrees with that view.
There's never a time when we would say there is nothing, so therefore, you have to go. It is often a negotiation and a discussion about what is available and what support is available. And sometimes I wonder whether what we've been able to provide is not what the young person wants.
A Melbourne magistrate has quit a month after he was stood down while the judicial watchdog investigated alleged misbehaviour. Nicholas Hines reports.
Chief Magistrate Justice Lisa Hannon has confirmed Richard Pitthouse resigned yesterday, but would not comment on whether his resignation was linked to a Judicial Commission investigation. Mr Pitthouse was stood down in early February after the Commission received a complaint about his in-court behaviour, which it said would warrant his removal from office if substantiated. The Commission has previously made findings against Mr Pitthouse after he suggested an alleged rape victim had buyer's remorse and put herself in that position during a court case in 2018.
A powerful tornado has caused at least 2 deaths in the southern US state of Mississippi. It tore through the Mississippi Delta, causing injuries and widespread damage as authorities urgently warned people in its path that they faced a life-threatening situation. The deaths occurred after a car was swept away by floodwaters in the nearby state of Missouri. They were among 6 passengers in the vehicle, 4 of whom managed to survive. A key figure in the digital revolution has died at his family home in Hawaii. Intel co-founder Gordon Moore was aged 94. The BBC's Abigail Maudsley looked back at his life.
With a PhD in chemistry and physics from Caltech, Gordon Moore began working on semiconductors in the 1950s. He and his friend and colleague Robert Noyce were among the co-founders of the Fairchild Semiconductor Corporation before setting up Intel together in 1968. In the 60s, Moore famously predicted that computer processing power would double every year, an observation known as Moore's Law, although he later revised this to 2. This exponential growth has driven much of the world's technological progress for the past half-century.
And Cooper's Brewery has sent a letter to Jim's Mowing accusing its limited edition beer of looking similar to its Cooper's Pale Ale can. Jim's Mowing says it ran a social media competition to design the beer label, which is also green and white. It says the beers are pretty much sold out and it found the letter to be overkill. Cooper says it's satisfied the other beer is a limited release and the matter has been resolved amicably.
Simone Young is one of the most talented conductors of her generation.
When I started, I faced considerable opposition.
Executive producer Kate Blanchett takes us into the world of one of our greatest conductors.
In 1991, there were no women conductors.
What does being a woman have to do with conducting?
She's not afraid to just be a boss.
Simone Young.
She was born to be a conductor.
Knowing the Score.
It is magic.
Streaming now on ABC iView.
Hello, I'm Patrick Stack, and if you like great stories and you enjoy sport, then I reckon you need ABC Sport Daily in your life.
And look, to be honest with you, I love it. I just love watching cricket. When a batsman's hanging on for their life, it's extreme cricket.
I think he just genuinely wants to create an expectation that, winning isn't a novelty for North Melbourne.
South said it best in a statement they put out. They said, he's still our captain.
It's a daily sports conversation, and it's called ABC Sport Daily. Find us on the ABC Listen app.
Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Heads inside 50 and Hopper finds Rewalt. On the lead, takes it out in front. 45 outside angle to the left. Kicks from just outside the 50. He's got plenty of it. Leaning back on the kick and straight over the goal umpire's hat.
Takes the mark straight off to Morris Rioli. 40 goes to Hopper at centre half forward around the ruckman. O'Brien easily from 40. He kicks the goal. Lovely finish. Transition play by Richmond.
Hands it over the top to Pickett. Sells some candy, then hands it over the top to Graham, who's all alone. 55 out and kicks into the 50 to Rewalt. Hits him on the chest with ease, and the Crows' defence looks lost. And on the mark, 30 out. Rewalt straight in front, easy as you like. The Tigers have 8 unanswered goals since the opening minute of this contest.
Down the line was Bolton. Ahead of him is Rewalt. Rewalt 60 from goal, right half forward, looks back inboard. More runners. Available was Graham. Took the mark, played on, kicked the goal. Again, brilliant ball work. Skills on display from Richmond.
Free kick Crows. Berry heads to the top of the goal square. Rankin juggles the mark. Top of the goal square in his 50th game. He's looked happy since coming back to South Australia. And now as a Crow, he has one at home.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
And now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
The tenacious Tigers running rampant at the Adelaide Oval. The midfield mix of Hopper, Taranto, Prestia just looks elite. Everything that the foundation was laid last week against Carlton, but it's certainly clicking now on the road against a hapless Adelaide Crows outfit who really fumbled the ball last week in the second half and now haven't turned up at home in front of a really good crowd in great conditions, but could almost hear a pin drop with how disappointed the fans in attendance are. I imagine those over east, though, would be loving what they're seeing from this Tigers outfit. The text line 0437 774 774. If you do want to get in touch with us, and one of our listeners makes a great point on the text line, do remember to leave your name if you do message in, saying Friday night will be huge. Good luck getting a ticket to the Pies and the Tigers. Completely agree, because Collingwood looked every bit as good earlier today when they took on Port Adelaide. Not a great day for the South Australian listeners. The Pies defeated the Power by 71 points at the MCG. Nick Dacos had 32 touches and 2 goals to go with his name, with his performance as well. Charlie Dixon, the best for the Power, with 3 goals to his name. And after the game, Lauren Borden caught up with former Power defender, now Pies defender, Billy Frampton.
Billy Frampton, congratulations on your first win in the black and white. It's a big atmosphere out there at the MCG, a 71-point win. Can you take me through what it was like for you out there at the MCG today?
Yeah, it was unbelievable, to be honest. I just felt so connected to the group. I didn't really have to think for myself at all. Everyone, Darcy, Braden, Murph, just set me up, and the way we play together is just unreal. And to get a win like that against one of my old sides is a great feeling.
What was it like playing against your old side, and I guess the difference between coming here and being a part of the Collingwood side and not having to deal with that frosty environment in Melbourne?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's such a big change coming here. Adelaide is a pretty intense footy state, obviously, with only 2 teams, but you can just feel it here really tangibly at training. There's so many people training all the time. It's just a massive change, but I'm loving every bit of it.
Yourself, Bobby Hill, Tom Mitchell have come into the side as well from other clubs. How's Collingwood embraced you as you come into a new side? Yeah, so well. I think we've all fit in seamlessly. A lot of us, me, Tommy and Bobby, especially, have all had time in Perth, so we sort of knew each other, and Dan's fit in so well as well. It just feels like home, to be honest. You don't feel left out at all. You're such a big part of it. A lot of that credit's to Fly, so it's been unbelievable. And today, a lot of the talk was about the forwards rather than the defence, with 14 individual goal kickers. How important is that for the side to show how dangerous you can be, that anyone, once they get an opportunity, can score? Yeah, it's massive. It just makes us so unpredictable. It's so hard to read who we're going to kick to. We've got 6 or 7 forwards up there who can kick a haul of goals, and all the mids are getting forward as well. It makes us so dangerous, and it makes life as a back pretty easy as well, just to be able to set up around it. Yeah. So you've ticked off the reigning premiers, a big win today against Port Adelaide, and a huge game at the MCG again next week. How do you prepare for that match against Richmond? Yeah, I think we'll just keep it pretty similar, to be honest. We just come back to process, and we just try to stay positive all the time, and the Fly drives that home, and we'll enjoy this for the day, and we'll move on and get ready for another massive game, which it seems like every second week's a huge one here. So yeah, it's been great. Fantastic. We'll enjoy that atmosphere, Billy, for the rest of the season. I will. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
New Magpie Billy Frampton there, speaking to Lauren Borden after Collingwood's 71-point win over Port Adelaide, and it's heading in a similar direction here at the Adelaide Oval. Richmond lead Adelaide by 45 points. Aaron Bryans and Neil Cross with you for the call, your experts this afternoon. Port Adelaide AFLW coach Lauren Arnell and All-Australian Crow Scott Thompson. Also on the text line 0437 774 774. Ian from Trigg says Lynch, Sampson and Riewoldt. Great combination. Riewoldt is not bad as a third tall. I mean, he's still taller than the tallest Adelaide defender this afternoon, Nick Murray. We have seen a sub as well in the opening quarter. Patrick Parnell is out due to concussion as a result of a dangerous tackle from Nathan Broad. It was horrendous, to be honest. Broad spun him over the boundary line, dumped his head into the turf, and then quickly ran away from it, to be honest. But it will certainly see him miss weeks, and Parnell was very groggy as he was escorted off the ground. On the text line, Rachel from Ballarat says they talk about the bump being dangerous in the game, but I think it's the sling tackle that really makes the game look ugly, and I wish it wasn't part of our game. Great call, go Tigers. Thank you, Rachel. And I do agree that there's a lot of elements that need fixing in our game, and the bump and the sling tackle was certainly 2 of the bigger ones. Around the country, Sheffield Shield final continuing out west at the WACA ground. Victoria 2 for 19, trailing by 101 runs. If you're not across it, WA all out for 315. They were 4 for 53 before Ashton Turner came to the crease and posted 128. So they're in the box seat at the moment to win the Sheffield Shield at the moment. In the NRL, the Titans lead the Cowboys 8-0, 30-minute mark. In the netball, the Lightning lead the Firebirds 45-28 midway through the third quarter there. Here at the Adelaide Oval, though, it is Richmond by 45 points. Loz, Tomo, We're expecting a bit of the same in the second half?
Well, I'd like to see a whole lot of fight early in the third from the Crows, but we touched on already that Richmond had it on their own terms throughout that first half. So I'm very interested to see how the first 5 minutes unfolds now.
I'm expecting a more contested start to this half, particularly given that second quarter where Richmond really had it their own way. So I think expect a more contested brand of footy, certainly from the Crows, and let's see if they make those tweaks around the ball and whether they force a bit more of an equalise in their forward line.
Still to come today, a double header tonight, Fremantle and North Melbourne at Perth Stadium. If you're listening in ABC Radio Perth or on the AFL Extra button on the Listen app, you'll hear that. Everyone else, you're headed to the Docklands for the Western Bulldogs and St Kilda. You can hear every game on the ABC Listen app this season. Just look for the AFL button. Richmond by 45 points, second half underway on Grandstand AFL. Here's Neil Cross.
Thanks, Aaron. The ball bounced and Adelaide's gone with O'Brien in the ruck. Rochelle will get the first possession out of the middle. Front of the stoppage, sends it long looking for Walker. Outmarked Bolter. Came to the front, took a strong mark. So, promising start by Adelaide, cut off by Bolter. He's out in the eastern side. Sends it long. It's a good kick, 40, 50, 60 metres probably in the end. Scholl got it off the front of the pack, and then there was Laird, who was taken high in a tackle by Bolton. Hands it off straight away from the free kick to Scholl. He goes long, and again, monstered was Walker. It was Grimes who came across. His hand pass was loose though after Walker did the tackle. And now Broad's taken down again, buried his head, ducked into the tackle. And Saligo pulled him down. The umpire said, give it to me. Inside forward 50 for the Crows. Their second entry for the quarter. Scoring, though, has been a problem for them in this match.
Walker competes against Nankervis, but the Richmond ruck wins it down. Straight to Rankin, though. Got a handball late away to Murphy. The check side from the tight angle is across the goal face and nearly reeled in by Fogarty. Won't matter because he's drawn a free kick. Top of the goal square, it will be a 45-degree angle to the right, but Darcy Fogarty shouldn't miss this. As I put the moz on him was. But he's going to have to open the angle here.
Left foot.
Let's have a look. Darcy Fogarty looking for his second. Very slow approach of a limited lead in. Goes the check side and finishes for Adelaide. Hot start for the Crows. Well needed after a disappointing opening half. Fogarty has two. Richmond's lead drops down to 39 points. 11-3-69. Adelaide 4-6-30.
Loz, a couple of forward entries for the Crows just to put the Richmond defenders under a little bit of pressure, and we finally slot one and we're back. The Crows are back.
Well, certainly more aggressive, and I think it was a pretty intelligent free kick that Fogarty was able to force. He was outnumbered again, 3-on-1. Pretty clever play by Fogarty. But yeah, certainly if the Crows are going to be going inside 50, as we've seen at the start of this second half, being more aggressive and sending it deeper is going to allow them more opportunities to score.
So it'll be Bolton, Prestia and Martin for the Tigers, Berry and Laird and Rochelle for the Crows, and the umpire's going to recall the bounce. It advantaged the Crows too much, although, having said that, O'Brien tapped it straight to the advantage of Nankervis. Here we go again. All the Crows need is a blackout, then come out and restart after 30 minutes or so, and maybe there's a bit in it for them. Out of the middle, Rochelle. He's got possession. He got away from Bolton. Got a hand pass in the direction of O'Brien. O'Brien just released a hand pass and a tackle. Then he followed up with a good one on Pickett. Adelaide's got the advantage. Play on. They're down to half forward. Rochelle looked back. Didn't take the advantage. Now he's gone to the goal square. Walker's there. Surrounded. It's gone across the line. Vlostone knocking it through for the Tigers. Crows threatening. We haven't said that much this afternoon. Richmond 11-3, Adelaide 4-7.
The advantage call really hurt them then. They had a couple of leading options, and Rochelle stopping to look back at the official actually killed the momentum. So 38 points the difference at the moment. Tigers have it out on the eastern side. Long ball up towards the logo. Off hands, Graham gets it towards Prestia at the fall of the ball. He's looking for Morris Rioli. Rewalt collides with him. Bit proppy as he goes to ground. It gives Sloane some time to gather for the Crows. Hands it off to Laird, then Hinge. At right half back, Pinpoint pass, hits Rochelle through centre wing in front of the benches. Looks inside. O'Brien marks behind the centre circle, then hands it off. Dawson's kick, Grubber rolls up towards Scholl, who had some time to gather. Over the top, hits Murphy in space at left half forward. They're all alone at the moment, the Crows. To the left forward pocket, Fogarty's kept out of it. Baker at the 4, the footy gathers, tries to spin through the Soligo tackle but can't. And taken over the boundary line, 30 out from the Crows' goal face. They're kicking to the Riverbank stand end. Couple inside 50s early, Lots.
Yeah, and even changing angles, willing to go through the corridor to move the ball and force the Richmond defenders to actually have to move and defend.
Ball back into play. Nankervis gets to the front ahead of Walker, brings it to the front. And a good turn away by Hopper, forward hand pass, outside defensive 50 funds Prestia. He goes to the logo on centre wing. Adelaide force it forward to Murray, flicks a hand pass out. Dawson across the centre square, he goes to Sloane from the centre of the field. He hits it to a 3-on-1. Good luck there, Soligo. He took down Grimes. Grimes releases it for Daniel Rioli. Inboard he goes to Taranto, then Nankervis, and then Daniel Rioli again. Chips it in short, broad with the mark. Inside defensive 50. He plays on quickly to Daniel Rioli. Running across centre half back towards the eastern side.
Spots Bolton all alone, but Michael Annie came from absolutely nowhere, cuts it off, arches the back, races to left half forward and headed towards Rankin, but Bolton knew where he was going. Back-to-back footy at the moment. Bolter clears out to Bolton, play it on, and Michael Annie runs him down. He's everywhere at the moment, the kid. Now Adelaide go back inside 50. Duday's looking for Fogarty, uses the body on Grimes but can't get away. To ground, Murphy comes through, hands it to Rochelle, snaps from 35, and boy does he love it! Rochelle's pumped, as are the Crows. 2 straight to start the second half. It's a big mountain to climb, but they're certainly up for the challenge at the moment. 32 points down now, 11-3-69. Adelaide 5-7-37. 6 minutes into the third on Grandstand AFL.
Great start to the third quarter by Rochelle. He started in the middle, and he was the one Lozzie touched on before that got the ball in the middle of the ground and was able to open his vision and look lateral and change the direction of the ball, which therefore makes Richmond's defenders have to defend. They can't get set, and the Crows' ability then to shift them was outstanding.
And that's the only way they can get back in this game is Richmond's defenders have had it all on their own terms. They've had a lot of time and space to work in. They've been able to create a lot of easy turnover, and now the Crows are trying something different. Force the ball through the middle, force them to change angles and create more of a contest in their front half.
Keys and Schonberg go into the middle for the Crows. Cochin's in there, Prestia and Taranto for Richmond. And Prestia, he could have got a free kick. Looked like he was held as he ran towards the ball then. Now he's got it on the ground. Releases it out. Sloane picks it up. Taranto takes him down. And it was a high tackle, said the umpire. Sloane hand passes straight away to Dawson. He's on this broadcast side of the ground inside 50, holding off his man Fogarty, and then he spilt it. He was back for the tackle on Young, took him down, and we'll get a ball up near the boundary line, right half forward for the Crows.
Intensity certainly lifted at the Adelaide Oval, and the crowd's found its voice as well. Walker wins it down against Nankervis, got it to the former skipper in Sloane, then off to Pedlar. Arches away, then kicks towards the top of the goal square. Murphy back with the flight, dangerous collision, collides with Bolton, spills out to the left forward pocket. Scholl heads for home and misses. I think it's a minor score on the left-hand side as Murphy finally gets to his feet, but he's in a bit of trouble there as he ran straight into the path of Bolton. We're getting a score review for the minor score.
Well, in fact, the umpire there has signalled that it's a mark, but they're waiting on whether it's a clean mark, if you like, I think, right on the line.
Bolter came across, took it to his chest. I reckon that's in, Crossy. But it's an awkward angle, isn't it?
Looking at this angle, we can see the ball is controlled before crossing the back of the behind line. Decision on scoreboard.
Every point counts. Won't be a score for Adelaide here, although they're looking very lively early. Richmond dominated the opening half, especially around the ball, but they've been stuck in their defensive 50 at the moment. Leading by 32, Bolter receives the footy and goes long up to right half back. Packer waits, Rewald outnumbered and beaten. O'Brien kept him away as Hinge flew up for the mark. Goes straight back inside 50 looking for Fogarty. sip and went straight through his hands. What a leap. Spills to the left forward pocket. Berry can gather, hands it to Rankin and misses from 15 out. He's gone the check side and through for a minor score on the left-hand side. He's filthy. That would have brought the stadium to its feet. Minor score, 31-point lead to Richmond, who was still in control. But Adelaide are coming.
You just notice Richmond, you'd like to see him go to a bit more kick mark now, create a bit more control on the ball.
Flostone brings the ball in. Laurie O'Brien takes the mark at right half forward. Back inside 50, good kick. Walker, was he pushed? No. Umpire called play on. Richmond comes away. Daniel Rioli goes out to the eastern side of the ground looking for Rewalt. Ball knocked away from him. It comes to Hinge. Hinge attacks with a hand pass over the top to Keys. Just on 50, Rankin takes... Oh, it was Murphy, I think, who took it. And just as he went to kick, the ball was smothered off his foot. It was Murphy. Just a little bit slow. And Daniel Rioli smothered it over the line. Just outside, attacking 50 for the Crows. Ball will come back into play. They've cut the margin to 31 points. It was 45 at half-time.
Nankervis slaps it down. Press your head over the footy, can't pull it away. Getting in front of him was Scholl. Retreats back to Keys. Clearing kick. Wanted a free kick. Thought he caught one late. Double fist away from Baker. Out of the defensive 50. Straight back to Keys again. Handball back to Murphy inside the square. He heads to the left forward pocket. Vlostone lost it in the sun. Picked up at the back by Fogarty. Dinked it 5 metres to Rochelle. Lost 2 and curves it through for a goal. Boy, does he love playing at the Oval. Gets right amongst the punters. Josh Rochelle has 2 in the quarter. Adelaide have the first 3. And it's down to a 25-point game.
Loz, the Crows have had all the play, and it's good to see that they're getting some score on the board now. And Rochelle's been the spark. Now, brilliant goal. Thoughts on celebrating with the crowd like you're 7 goals up?
He certainly enjoys himself, Rochelle, and I'd be shocked if most Crows supporting young children around Adelaide don't turn up in a number 8 Guernsey on Monday morning. But, yeah, look, I think Crows obviously got the run on now, created a lot of momentum for themselves. For Richmond, you just want to see them either create a bit of repeat stoppage, find some kick mark, take a bit of sting out of the game because the crowd's found their voice, and Adelaide right now have taken a bit of control back.
Adelaide 6-8-44, Richmond 11-3-69. 25-point game after it was 45 points at half-time. And Nankervis with the tap out of the middle. Adelaide will get possession though. Schonberg was pushed as he tried to kick it. Taranto sends it forward for Richmond into the path of Short. He's picked it up, slips the hand pass out to Pickett. He's tackled, he's crunched by Sloane. Umpire waits. Now he calls play on. Still the ball's locked in among 4 or 5 players at left half forward on the point of the square for Richmond. And now we'll get a ball up.
12 minutes into the third, Richmond 11-3-69. The Crows 6-8-44. Another clearance for Adelaide. They got dominated in the middle in the opening half, but they're winning at the moment. Walker takes it just inside the centre square. Dummies and then heads into the arc. He's put it in the path of Pedler. Can gather alone on the bounce and snap from the left forward pocket across the face. Minor score on the right-hand side. Adelaide down by 24 now. Richmond, they were on absolute tear. They kicked 9 unanswered goals, I should say. And all of a sudden, it's Adelaide's game here at the Oval.
And out of defence, Baker had it. And he made a mistake with his kick. Mark Saligo back inside. Should have been taken by the lead of Fogarty. He missed it. And Richmond able to recover. It's onto the chest of Daniel Rioli. He says, let's just kick mark for a while. He looks for Martin, outside defensive 50, left half back, close to the boundary. Martin says, come across this side of the ground, boys. Shocking kick turnover. Should be, it is. Dawson with the mark. Available players in the middle. Instead, he goes down the line. Walker leads up. He is a powerful kick and he goes bang. Long to the top of the square. Rankin. Oh, they had Daniel Rioli coming back hard. Slapped the ball through for the minor score some 20 metres back. But Richmond under a lot of pressure now. It's cut to 23 the margin. Vlostone quick to bring the ball out. Straight to Broad. He plays on close to the boundary on the eastern side.
Sends it long up towards centre wing. Hopper tried to use both hands to push Schomburg out of the contest, and in the end he lost anyway. Schomburg hands it off to the runner Laird. Crows back inside 50 for the 16th time this term to nothing. Spills off hands. Cochin front and square, turned it straight back over. Rochelle tries to weave around Taranto but can't. Great tackle from the former Giant. Now Richmond on the counter. Baker to Hopper. Then Cochin off to Martin. He's at right half back and calling for a lead. None at the moment, and finally he gets one late. On the logo, his premiership skipper and Cochin comes out to meet him. He'll look on the 45 to Hopper. Fans didn't think it was 15. Richmond given the benefit of the doubt. Jacob Hopper, another touch. He's having a magnificent afternoon and looking to stem the flow of the Crows here. Heads inside 50, Rewalt uses the body, gets away from Hinge, dives to his side and pulls it in. 35 out, slight angle to the right.
Few calm heads for Richmond there, just to be able to control the ball. Martin firstly had Rewalt one out forward of the ball but decided to hang on to it, and then Cochin after that and Hopper. Few calm heads, control the ball, and this will hurt the Crows. First inside 50 if they're able to execute the goal.
The three-time Coleman medalist. You wouldn't want anyone else lining up for goal here. Rewalt from 35 just misses right. Looks straight, but just didn't start well. Minor score for Richmond, back up to a 24-point lead. 11-4-70, plays 6-10-46, 15 played in the third. And Adelaide wastes little time exiting the defensive 50.
Out towards centre wing, Walker takes the mark. Dawson was the delivery. Walker chips short for Schomburg. He's got a bit of time to pick it up. After spilling it, he goes up looking for Pedler. He takes a strong mark. I fancy it was actually meant for Big Fogarty, but Pedler slipped in, took it. He's 25 out, 45-degree angle. Here's a chance for the Crows. It's almost like these sides have changed Guernseys.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here thinking, actually, Neil, it looks like two different teams from Crows in the first half to Crows right now. Whatever was said at half-time is having a serious impact.
So, Pedler coming in. As I said, only 25 out and hits the left post. So the left footer hits the left post. Oh, the Crows, they've had a couple of gilt-edged opportunities to add to the 2 goals they have for this quarter, and they haven't been able to do it. They trail by 22 points.
Playing on, Broad pops it short, hits up Baker. The Crows had 18 behinds last week, 11 so far this afternoon. Richmond head up the eastern side. O'Brien over the top of Nick Murray to take the contested mark. Took out his teammate. They won't mind because Adelaide get the intercept. Gives it to Dawson, his skipper, down the line. Murphy turns inside and hits up Walker. Beautiful pass. Broad will be pulled back all the way to 40 out from goal. He was standing at 48. So the Texans been given a bit of leeway here. 45-degree angle to the left. Walker lines up, looking for his first. So you can hear the anticipation at the Adelaide Oval. They were deadly silent heading into halftime. The fans are up and about now. Walker comes in from 50. It's left. Wasted opportunity after wasted opportunity. 6-12 the Adelaide Crows. 48 play Richmond 11-4-70. They want to try and trump the Tigers, who've been rolling at the Oval this afternoon. They need to be better than that in front of goal. 17 played in the third as Richmond again through Broad go long to the eastern side.
Ball comes off hands in the direction of Martin. His hand pass inside to Hopper, who was smashed in a tackle. Ball just towed forward, picked up by Short. Wide for Martin with a hand pass, and then wider still for Prestia. On the eastern boundary, he sends it over the fence. Wasn't a great kick, that pressure that Adelaide is applying now. Where was this in the first half? Richmond just had their way with Adelaide. They go across goals now, the Crows. Himmelberg, they've switched it to Duday and then Schomburg, and he drops it short. And the mark taken by Saligo. Graham arguing on the mark, it wasn't 15. Saligo goes to the logo on centre wing. Finds Berry. He holds it up. Adelaide will want to go quickly. That's what's worked in this quarter. Not
a lot of options. Berry will play on and head long towards the 50. Thilthorpe's in front position, nearly claimed it. Tyler Young did very well to rise up above Fogarty from behind and then spoil the ball over the boundary line. Right half forward for the Crows. Plenty of opportunities though, that inside 50 count. 17-1. Aaron Bryans and Neil Cross with you for the call. Lauren Arnell, Scott Thompson, your experts. The script has certainly been flipped in this second half. Toss back in. O'Brien wins it down in the path of Schomburg. Brought down immediately. Loses control of the footy. Duday now tackled by a couple. Will get a ball up at right half forward.
Just want to see the Crows maximise their effort going inside 50. It's 9 scoring shots to 1 in this third quarter, but 3 goals 6.
Berry in traffic, released it. Now O'Brien in traffic, released it. Quickly onto the boot of Smith, got good purchase. Long he goes. Ball in the forward pocket for the Crows. Richmond off hands towards Vlostone, couldn't take it. Thilthorpe, he delivered to Laird, but he missed him. And then Laird tried to flick up a hand pass and couldn't do it. And it was picked up by Graham and was taken down in a brilliant tackle. Well done by Schomburg following up, but he only forces a ball up. I thought he tried to fend there, Graham. Umpire says we'll have a ball up 40 out from the Crows' goals. Nankervis comes, punches wide, looks for Vlostone. Schomburg was there, Taranto picks it up, hand passes off, Smith intercepts, across the goal face with a long kick out the other side. Riley Thilthorpe tries to bring it in, or keep it in at least, without success. Over the line, 15 around in the left forward pocket for the Crows. They're sensing something here. They've had 18 shots at goal to 15, but they find themselves trailing by 22 points. We're into time on in the third term.
Toss back in. Walker in front position wins it down. Broad was there, couldn't gather. Walker goes again. He's wrapped up in the tackle and trying to fight his way through. Loses control. Daniel Rioli gets it out to Baker. Clearing kick out to the eastern side. Lynch in the pack brings it down to the feet of Dusty. He loses it. Had 3 to beat. Murray can gather, bangs it back where it came from. Fogarty has fallen on his head. He has leapt above the pack and completely been tunnelled. And he's popped up immediately okay, but gee, that was a dangerous fly. It's cleared the pack and over the boundary line. Fogarty gave everything to try and take that mark. Just caught one in the hip and it flipped him in the air. Toss back in, Nankervis with the tap, looking for Hopper, and it rolls back over the boundary line, left forward pocket. Gee, the Crows have got some fight in this third term, and it's got Richmond on the back foot.
Tigers have rolled up the ground. Only 4 Tigers outside this attacking 50 of the Crows. They're keeping it tight. And O'Brien got it down to Rankin, and Rankin snaps a goal! Out of the stoppage. Riley O'Brien with a beautiful tap, and Rankin with a perfect snap at goal. His second of the afternoon. Crows third of the quarter. It's Adelaide 7-12-54. Richmond 11-4-70. The Tigers will really feel the heat now. Your experts on Grandstand AFL, Lauren Arnell and Scott Thompson.
Guys, tell me if I got my numbers right. 4 goals, 5 this quarter so far for the Crows to 1 behind
4-6.
Richmond.
19 entries, make that 20 entries to 1. So the Crows have well and truly played this quarter in their forward half. Richmond need to get control of the ball. Disposals now are 83-48 for the quarter, so Richmond need to try and control the ball and stem the flow of what's going on at the moment.
Liz Walsh, what's it like down on the boundary?
I'll tell you who just got so excited by that goal. That was Josh Rochelle, who was on the bench here. He leapt up, clapped his hands, he was pumped.
All about the theatrics. Josh Rochelle this afternoon in the middle. O'Brien won it down, but Nankervis dives onto the footy. Can't pull it away. Berry charges in. Bolton's on his back. Wraps him up. Bit of a wriggle, and finally we'll get a ball up. Still in the centre square, I should say. Nankervis front position. Tapped it down straight to Saligo. Tried to duck through the Taranto tackle and lost it. Nankervis gives it off to the former Giant. Check side, travels about 5 metres, but bounces perfectly for short. Pops it forward to Graham. Still inside the centre square. He'll hand it off back to Taranto. Awful kick inside 50. It was low, flat, straight to Brodie Smith, who intercepts for the Crows. Now Saligo at centre half back will pop it over the top to Laird.
Running for him outside, Saligo again. Down to half forward, wasn't the greatest of kicks. It's picked off. Intercept mark there by Young in his debut. diagonally across the square. He goes to Ryan. His fellow debutant takes the mark, hands it off. Short inside 50, long and direct. Martin, no, it's Martin over the back. Takes it, plays on goal. Just judged it so well. Crows defenders coming back, couldn't reach it, couldn't get a hand on it. And that's just Richmond settling as they should. Experienced team, 23.5 into the third term. Richmond 12-4-76, Adelaide 7-12-54.
I feel sorry for Tommy Duday there. It was the Taranto kick that came inside 50 that initially turned over, but when the ball exited, Shea Bolton just stood there and did not move, which generated an extra 4 to the ball for Richmond. And Tommy was caught in two minds whether to go or stay, so a little bit lucky there, Richmond.
And I think also exceptional play from Tyler Young. It's his first game to create that intercept mark and take the risk of switching the ball right across the other side of the ground to Samson Ryan. That's what allowed them to go so quickly, Richmond, and much needed goal from Dustin Martin.
He loves stepping up in big moments, does Dusty, and they needed him to there. Breaks a run of 3 or 4 unanswered goals by the Crows. In the middle, Taranto again gets another clearance for Richmond. He's looking for Remolt. The kick's a bit too long. Michael Annie's underneath it with the intercept mark. Liz Walsh downstairs.
Yeah, while the Richmond bench has been so quiet today, the Crows bench continues to heat up. Now Darcy Fogarty's in the hands of the doctor. They're just checking out his right knee. I'll keep an eye on him.
If you are just joining us, Patrick Parnell subbed out of the game in the opening quarter off a dangerous tackle from Nathan Broad, who dumped him over the boundary line in a sling motion. So Riley Thilthorpe is on the ground. The Crows on the eastern side now, leaning back on the kick. Rochelle, bit nonchalant as he headed down the line looking for Fogarty. Richmond were there with numbers. At the 4, the footy short, heads inside 50 looking for Rewalt. Scoreboard pocket, had 2 to beat. Hinge there to gather. Handballs off, little 1-2 with Saligo and races away. The winger up towards O'Brien. The Crows on the counter here. Takes the mark, gives it to Laird. Did a full 360 around his ruck, and Morris Rioli nearly got him. Just couldn't stick the tackle. Laird gets away, kicks into the path of Walker. He's all alone from 35. Snaps towards goal and shepherded through. Elation at the Oval. The Crows are still in it. They just keep fighting and fighting. And their counter football, it's just magnificent in this third term. 12-4-76 Richmond, Adelaide 8-12-60. 16-point game, time on in the third on Grandstand AFL.
We've talked a little bit about the Crows being far more willing to use the corridor and open up the ground this quarter, and it was Riley O'Brien that really stood up. He copped a nice one behind the ears from Nankervis, but held a very strong contested mark. And again, opened up the field of play for the Crows to show what they're capable of offensively, which we just did not see in that first half.
Crows trailed at half-time by 45 points. They virtually got jeered, I would say, by the home crowd going off the ground. They obviously discussed things, maybe severely discussed things with Matthew Nix at half-time, and they've come out and they've rocketed back. They're trailing by 16 points. And out of the middle, they've got the ball again. Murphy, and then Laird, and then Saligo. And Saligo inside 50, and a mark taken by Keys. I think it was going to be a free kick for Saligo being taken late. And in fact, I think it was going to be, and they played advantage as Keys takes the mark inside 50. He can be dicey in front of goal, and Adelaide's been dicey this afternoon. They've kicked 8 goals, 12. Keys will kick from about 40 out, just slightly to the right of the goals. So here's the opportunity for the Crows. They've kicked 5 goals to 1 in the third term. Keys comes in, starts it left, starts it right, I should say, and it just fades away more right. So another blown opportunity for the Crows. They've dominated the third term, but they've only managed to get it back to 15 points. So that's the margin as we cross over 28 minutes into the quarter. Broad plays on from full-back.
Still plenty of time in the third as well. Richmond looking to counter here. Silence the crowd. Baker from right half-back heads long up the eastern side. Nankervis, I should say, caught behind. O'Brien had to spoil. Did well. Got it straight to Taranto. Heads to the scoreboard pocket. Rewald again beaten by Murray. Goes to ground. Murray kept his feet and clears it with a great kick to right half-back. Hit Pedler back with the fight. No one on the mark. Crows fans want him to go, but he'll take his time. Pops it wide to Scholl, right in front of Liz Walsh.
Yeah, Darcy Fogarty still from the ground, but he's had a little bit of magic spray, a little bit of strappings going on. He should be back on the ground soon.
Scholl to Dawson, who found Laird. He could have raced away in the centre square. There was no one in front of him. Instead, he stopped, propped. Went back to Smith on the western wing. Over the top, into the 50. And hits up Rankin right on the arc. Tight angle. Already has 2 this afternoon. The Tigers have lost all their momentum from the opening half. They look like the dominant force in the middle with Hopper and Taranto. Damien Hart would be pulling his hair out watching this display in the third. Isaac Rankin is lining up for his set shot. It's a difficult angle. He'll start right half forward on the fence. Man on the mark, 49 out. Rankin steps across. His kick will fade across the goal face. Stays in the field of play. Sloan launches himself into the air but couldn't claim it. Back with the flight, and it bounced straight off his chest and through for a minor score. 14-point margin after Richmond led by 45 at the half. 12-4-76. Richmond, Adelaide 8-14-62. Still 90 seconds left in the third on Grandstand AFL.
Flostone stands at the top of the defensive goal square. Now he plays on, goes out to the eastern side, long and high. Ryan couldn't take it, middle of the pack. Nankervis took it, just flipped a hand pass forward. Bolton down to half forward. Riewoldt. So Riewoldt with the mark, holds it up, looks into the sun, takes his time. Surely he's played on. He moved around. Now he's called to go. Dropped it in short. Graham with the mark. He goes slightly back to Vlostone. Vlostone's just slightly behind half forward. O'Brien goes over to mark. Inside they go, back near the centre circle, taken by Grimes. He goes forward to Nankervis. Still inside the centre square, Richmond. Slow build up, Nankervis plays on. Kicks it long, top of the square. Lynch was there, it was knocked away from him. Went to Smith and then Scholl with hand passes. Hinge took his time, then delivered the ball looking for Rochelle. Outside 50, ball falls to the back. Rankin was there, put the pressure on. Keys took it. Forward hand pass, Thilthorpe. Thilthorpe runs outside, slips a hand pass to Murphy. He goes inside, kick towards centre half forward. Vlostone over the top. Took it away from Pedlar. Pedlar runs on though, went the hand pass forward, then dragged the ball in. Pickett's on his back, he takes it away. Still it's at centre half forward for the Crows. Battling, umpire says give it to me.
Huge play from Nick Flostone and Marlon Pickett to then come in and just help on that weak side for Richmond. The Crows looked like they were out.
Tossed up. And that'll do us for 3 quarters of footy. Adelaide dominant in the third. And it means we've got a game on our hands at the Adelaide Oval. 5-1 leaves the margin at 14 points, and the same fans that booed this crowd, this team off the ground, are now on their feet applauding the home side, who have clawed their way right back into it. Richmond 12-4-76. Adelaide 8-14-62 with a quarter to come. The goal scorers for the Tigers, 2 to Ryan, Lynch and Riewoldt. Singles to Martin, Baker, Short, Hopper, Graham and Broad. Meanwhile for the Crows, 2 to Rankin, Fogarty and Rochelle. Singles to Thilthorpe and Walker. It's great to have you with us. Grandstand finish coming up in a moment. The text line 0437 774 774. 2 big games to come. Freo and North Melbourne, and the Western Bulldogs and St Kilda on ABC Radio, News Radio, Sport Digital and the ABC Listen app. This is Grandstand AFL.
ABC Listen.
So, what's the craziest question you've ever been asked on the Dr. Carl podcast?
Well, Triple J listeners are pretty imaginative, so we've been asked questions like, why do men have nipples?
And what happens if you shoot a gun in space? And how do trees talk to each other? The answer, of course, is the Wood Wide Web.
Carl.
Dr. Carl and Dr. Lucy have all the answers on the Dr. Carl podcast. Find it on the ABC Listen app. Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Walker competes against Nankervis, but the Richmond ruck wins it down. Straight to Rankin though. Got a handball late away to Murphy. The check side from the tight angle. Across the goal face and nearly reeled in by Fogarty. Won't matter because he's drawn a free kick. Goes the check side and finishes for Adelaide. 2 days looking for Fogarty, uses the body on Grimes but can't get away. To ground, Murphy comes through, hands it to Rochelle, snaps from 35 and boy does he love it. Rochelle's pumped, as are the Crows. Handball back to Murphy inside the square, he heads to the left forward pocket. Blostone lost it in the sun, picked up at the back by Fogarty, dinked it 5 metres to Rochelle, lost 2 and curves the through for a goal. Josh Rochelle has 2 in the quarter. Adelaide have the first 3 and it's down to a 25-point game.
And O'Brien got it down to Rankin and Rankin snaps a goal. Out of the stoppage, Riley O'Brien with a beautiful tap and Rankin with a perfect snap at goal. Short inside 50, long and direct. Martin takes it, plays on goal. Just judged it so well.
Laird gets away, kicks into the path of Walker. He's all alone from 35, snaps towards goal and shepherded through. The Crows are still in it.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
And now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
The Crows have fought their way back into this contest. A game that seemed done at half-time is well and truly on. A 45-point margin brought back down to a 14-point deficit. The Tigers 12-4-76. Looking a bit shaky as Adelaide advanced to 8-14-62. A big quarter of footy coming your way on Grandstand AFL. Earlier today, Collingwood defeated Port Adelaide by 71 points. Still to come, Fremantle and North Melbourne at Perth Stadium. You'll get that game if you're listening on ABC Radio Perth, or if you want to hear it on the ABC Listen app, hit the AFL Extra button. Everybody else, you're headed to the Docklands for the Western Bulldogs and St Kilda. Corbin Middlemass is part of the commentary team there. And Corby, there is a big late change heading into this contest.
There is. That late change is for the game out in Perth. Nat Fyfe is going to miss, so he's been replaced in the selected side by Jai Amos. So Amos will play in the forward line. Nat Fyfe is out for the Dockers. Michael Walters is the sub for Freo, and for North Melbourne it is Daniel Howe, of course the former Hawk, who's the sub for North tonight. So that's over in Perth, as you set it up beautifully as on the ABC Sport ABC AFL Extra button. So if you're on the ABC Listen app, bottom right-hand corner, search AFL, you'll see AFL ABC Extra. If you click on that, you'll get the coverage of the game between North Melbourne and Fremantle. If you're on the main ABC AFL icon on the Listen app or through the networks outside of WA and where you're listening at the moment, you will be getting our game underneath the roof at Docklands tonight between the Western Bulldogs and St Kilda. There is no late change here. Robbie McComb is going to be the sub for the Western Bulldogs, and Marcus Windhager comes back from a broken hand to be the sub for the Saints. So the Dogs, their first game at the House of Superheroes for 2023 after a big loss at the G to Melbourne last weekend. And for St Kilda, well, they got a chance to start 2-0 under Ross Lyon with their 150th year birthday celebration to come next week. So what a start that would be for St Kilda, despite having an injury list as long as your arm. So set up perfectly tonight. The Saints and the Bulldogs for us here at Docklands, and over in Perth, Freo without Nat Fyfe up against the Roos.
Magnificent work as always, Corby. Looking forward to your call from the Docklands. Corbin Middlemass alongside Jess Webster, Mark Murphy and Luke Ball in that Perth Stadium game as well. That'll be Clint Wilden, Dave Lindsay, Sharad Wellingham and Shane Woden. Here it is myself, Aaron Bryans, Neil Cross, Lauren Arnell, Scott Thompson and Liz Walsh down on the boundary. The Tigers by 14 points. Big finish coming your way at the Adelaide Oval in front of a ripper crowd. And Loz, all of a sudden, this game's been tipped on its head.
Certainly has. I think, Richmond, you'd expect Damien Hardwick to just pour some confidence into them. There's quite a shaky third quarter for them, but you'd expect they back themselves in. If they can return to the game style they played that first half with, they should be able to come out on top, Scott.
Yeah, you're right. But that was as dominant a quarter as footy you could see. Inside 50s, 24-7. Richmond couldn't get their hands on the ball, 118 to 76 disposals. If the Crows were able to execute a little bit better in front of goal, the margin might even be a little less.
It's much more exciting footy. Adelaide took so many more risks offensively. It just opened up that Richmond defence. So shapes for a really exciting last quarter.
A couple of texts in. M from Melbourne says, enjoying the call. Great to hear, Lauren, and good luck to you and your girls, Loz.
Thanks,
she also says, seems that the Tigers are losing momentum, which is good to see for next week as she's a Pies supporter, so she'll be on the Crows bandwagon. Another listener, Peter from Tambo, says, just sent a text to my fellow Tiger supporter suggesting she better check her blood pressure. We all are at the moment. Big finish coming up in the middle. And Curvis wins it down. Berry gathered, kick was smothered, spilled out. Free kick paid the way of Tim Taranto for the Tigers. He tackled Brodie Smith. It looked in the back, which is why the fans were cheering, but they've paid holding the ball instead. Taranto, lively this afternoon, heads inside 50 for Lynch. He couldn't quite get the fly. Spoiled away. Charging out, Hopper may have caught one over the shoulder. He certainly sold it that way. Isn't paid. Ball up to come just outside the attacking 50 for Richmond.
I don't know there was much difference between the Taranto tackle and what was made there by the Crows, but Hopper is slow to get up. May have a leg, I think, some sort of leg issue. Very slow to get up, so nothing's resumed. They're still waiting. He's decided to lie back and just stay there for the moment.
Hopefully it isn't a syndesmosis kind of issue there. He did buckle under the tackle as he fell backwards.
So we'll just wait. Trainer was very keen just to have him stay in place, and they've got the Richmond doctor heading across the ground to speak to him. And obviously the ruck contest is right there, so they can't actually put the ball in the air and resume play.
It's never good when you see their feet tapping. That means there's quite a lot of pain happening, so hopefully he's okay.
Well, he was lying back. Now he's attempting to get up.
The concerning part, Crossy, is I think he's grabbing the back of his right knee.
Yep, it's definitely his right leg, and now he's flexing it. So whatever problem he's got is down that right leg. He's in the hands of the trainers now, coming off the ground.
There's a replay just on the screen above us here in the commentary box, and you can see his right leg buckle nastily underneath him in that tackle.
Liz Walsh on the boundary.
Yeah, meanwhile, the Tigers sub, Ryan Mansell, has just stood up. He started doing some warm-up stretches. He's still waiting for coach's instructions, though, because he's just sat back down.
Hopper breaking into a trot, heading towards the interchange gates with the doctor. And meanwhile, we're going to resume play just outside attacking 50 for Richmond.
O'Brien wins it down. Had to get his own footy as well because Laird couldn't gather cleanly. The dinky kick went in the path of Rochelle perfectly. Gathered on the bounce, now heads towards Fogarty. Grimes disposes of him and gathers clean. Handball forward for the Tigers, hits Daniel Rioli. Wide, he was trying to get it to Baker, ended up hitting Nankervis. He's wrapped up by Berry. For some odd reason, they've been matched up on each other quite a lot throughout this contest, and the height mismatch hasn't really mattered because Sam Berry's an absolute bull. Tossed back up. O'Brien again wins it down, spills towards the eastern wing. McIntosh has two to beat, falls onto the footy, isn't getting it out. He's pulled it back in. Umpire's waiting, and we'll get a ball up. Richmond by 14, early stages of the fourth. Jacob Hopper on the bench. The Crows have already made their sub with Parnell out with concussion.
From the ruck contest, O'Brien just knocks it forward. Baker trying to reach out a hand. Berry got it. Now he's being tackled by Taranto. Ball up on that front end of the square, right half forward for Adelaide. Liz Walsh.
Jacob Hopper's just gone down into the rooms with the team doctor, but Ryan Mansell, the Tigers sub, is still seated on the bench.
Okay, out of the ruck contest, Dawson goes back with his hand pass looking for Hinge. Hinge did well, flip a hand pass up to Dawson again, and then to Scholl, and then he chipped the ball down to half forward. Mark taken by Laird. Within 10 metres of the boundary at right half forward on the eastern side. He just, a little dinky kick over the top, looking for Scholl, and McIntosh came front on, but collected the ball, knocked it over the boundary line, and we'll get a throw in. And we'll just wait. Might be a blood rule. We're just holding up. The umpires have decided. No, it isn't. Just thought Ray Chamberlain wanted to be involved.
Toss back in on the eastern side. Nankervis wins it down. Gave it to Prestia. They don't argue, but his handball, in a bit of panic, went straight back to Laird. He uses Dawson. Thought he had more time than he did. Cochin was on his tail. Rushes him into a handball back to Laird. Heads to the scoreboard pocket. Walker's caught behind it. Still juggles the mark. How has he claimed that up against Bolter? Didn't have the positioning or the height really, but he somehow plucked it out of the air. The Texan will go back. Man on the mark, 30 out. 45-degree angle to the right. This to make it a single-digit game. Taylor Walker, their all-time leading goal scorer, had 5 against Richmond last year with 3 Brownlow votes. Kicks from 40. He's got 2. Walker's leading the charge. And the Crows smell blood in the water. 8-point game at the Oval after Richmond led by 45 points at half-time. 12-4-76. The Tigers playing Adelaide 9-14-68. 5.5 into the final term on Grandstand AFL.
The Crows, Loz, have certainly started this last quarter the way they started the third, and it's effort and attitude and the intensity and purpose around the ball is what's really got them back into this game.
So it's just crazy that such small things can make such a big difference, and for a lot of this Crows team, they're pretty young. To see them apply it is significant. And Taylor Walker, a really strong contested mark, just shifting Bolter off his line. Shea Bolton's gone on ball instead of Hopper. We know Hopper's injured, so we'll see what difference that makes for Richmond.
Crows haven't been this close since the 23-minute mark of the opening quarter when they trailed by 9 points. They trail by 8 points now, and the game-high margin was 45. Ball with a secondary ball up in the middle. Crows will come away. No, they won't. Umpires picked up a free kick. It'll go back. It'll be Adelaide's regardless. Is it play on advantage? No. Ball's going to roll through for a goal, and it's going to be recalled. I think it was Saligo who ended up breaking away and kicking the ball long, but it's going to come all the way back about 120 metres, 130 metres back to the middle of the ground. Murphy will take the free kick. Bolton the offender, I believe. No, yes, it was Shea Bolton.
I think everyone in the stadium knew the play had stopped then except for Saligo.
Well, I saw him look over his shoulder, so I'm pretty sure he knew it stopped as well, but he thought, I'll give it a burl. So Murphy out of the middle now, just goes long and high inside attacking 50. Rochelle grabbed away from the ball, led with a dodge through the pack and away for the minor score. Laird's come into the game. Rochelle's been brilliant. Adelaide have found a way to get back within 7 points of Richmond.
If they lose in a tight one, they wouldn't be happy with their goal accuracy. 9-15 this afternoon, the Crows, off the back of 18 behinds last week. Richmond exit to the western wing. Lynch gets front position on O'Brien. Claims the mark. Right half back. Far from home. He's got Martin waiting at right half forward and Rewald inside the 50. He'll head up to Dusty. Got 3 to beat in the end. Is coming across from the side. Dawson reads it best and races away immediately. Walker was an option, bit too high for him. Bolter stands his ground, keeps Tex out of the flight. And intercept mark for Richmond. Right half back once again, they'll reset. Bolter bangs it back up forward of centre wing. Himmelberg gets a run at it. O'Brien with the intercept mark.
Richmond just insisting on continuing that long down the line kick while Himmelberg and Riley O'Brien are spare.
O'Brien goes way back deep to Scholl inside defensive 50. Takes the mark, can't switch any further, so decides to go to Duday. Duday on this broadcast side, then straight across to Scholl on the eastern side. He's got nobody in front of him, finally realises that, takes 2 bounces, runs out of defensive 50. Oh, his short pass misses the target, turnover. Martin running back the other way, gave it to Cochin. He dropped it, he's been tackled, it's still on the ground. Crows trying to force the ball up and they succeed in the end. I don't know how Cochin got rid of it, neither does the crowd, but the umpire says let's ball it up. It's at the point of the square at left half forward for Richmond.
Tossed up. O'Brien wins it down. McIntosh slaps it out of the air twice in the end. Trying to force it up to left half forward, but Scholl was waiting. Hand pass back to Dawson. Dummied around Cochin. And the Crows skipper looks inside with a kick to Keys. Marks at centre half back. Has a runner outside in Himmelberg. Through the centre square he goes and then goes long looking for Walker. Bolter gets front position. Great intercept mark. He was beaten early in the quarter, Noah Bolter, but he's holding the line at the moment for the Tigers. Kick up the western side looking for Martin. Brought it to ground, then became the tackler on Himmelberg. Fighting for it, but Dawson wins out. Little 1-2 with Keys. Then kicks up to left half forward. Walker again caught behind. Bolter kept him out of it, and Vostone cuts it off for the Tigers.
Goes into the centre square with a kick to Prestia. Over the top to Graham. Near the logo on centre wing broadcast side. Graham backs up, says let's just hold things up, take some time away. Hopper out wide, takes a mark, hand pass straight away to Short, down to half forward, looking for the lead of Lynch, and he was the only player who was going to mark it. He dived low and picked it up. He's still 60 from goal, and he goes back on the angle that should have been play on. And that's what the crowd knows. He's been ordered to play on now. Sends it high towards the goal square. Himmelberg was there, tried to punch it. It got over the back. Adelaide with a number. Schonberg just releases it. Looking for Scholl. It bounces in space. He's got some support from Fogarty. Right knee strapped down the line. He goes. Keys. 1-2 grabs. Under pressure from Vlostone with a tackle. Ball spills over the line. It's at right half back for the Crows. Eastern side of the ground. Liz Walsh is on our broadcast side down below.
Good news for Richmond. Jacob Hopper came straight back out from the rooms. He was ready to head back on, and he got straight back into the action.
So the sub Ryan Mansell yet to be activated by the Tigers. The Crows used theirs in the first quarter with Parnell out with a concussion. Toss back into play. Saligo had a fumble off the ruck contest. Tried to get it off to Murphy. He squats it over the boundary line with McIntosh on his tail.
Old Lazarus, Jacob Hopper, the way he's come back on the ground after about 3 minutes.
Good news for the Tigers faithful, who'd be very excited about Taranto and Hopper joining. They wouldn't want to have lost to one of their key signings early. Speaking of, Jacob Hopper with the clearance here off the Nankervis tap. Bounce to Ryan. He did well to paddle it in the path of Bolton. He turned away and left it for Prestia, who turned it straight over. He looked Schonberg dead in the face and then handed it to him. The Crows on the rebound. Berry out wide, spots Murphy, can race through the centre square unopposed, takes a bounce, heads for home. Fogarty back with the fly. He's dead in front, 10 out. This is a thriller at the Adelaide Oval. Richmond have left the door ajar. Adelaide have stormed through. Unbelievable. 1-6 since half-time. Darcy Fogarty comes in and just squeezes it through. Fogarty has 3. 1-point game at the Adelaide Oval. Richmond 12-4-76. Adelaide 10-15-75. Still 12 minutes of footy to come your way on Grandstand AFL. Your experts Lauren Arnell and Scott Thompson.
Beautifully called, Aaron. You're right, though, with what Prestia did in that back half. He looked at Schoenberg and just handballed it straight to him, which then allowed the Crows to get that fast break. And Lockie Murphy, great composure through the middle of the ground, and outstanding work rate by Fogarty to get back towards goal and mark over the back.
How tempted was Fogarty just to play on then? He was a metre away from his opponent, top of the square. He thought, no, I better stop. So here we are, a 1-point game. Who saw that coming? Liz Walsh will have news from the Richmond camp in just a moment. Ball in the middle. Nankervis taps it down. Hopper was there, couldn't get it. Laird swoops on it. Oh, he gave it to O'Brien, who wanted to shepherd. Ball on the ground. Nankervis took the tackle, lost it. Coming through brilliantly was Pickett. Slapped it his way, received a hand pass from Cochin. Low kick inside 50 from Pickett. Ball on the ground. Lynch tapped it out. Rewalt forward towards Mansell's got to go. Just come on as a sub. Mansell kicks the goal, and it's a 7-point game. The Tigers just slip away, and only their second goal of the second half. It's Richmond 13-4-82, Adelaide 10-15-75. 13 gone in the last quarter. Liz Walsh on the boundary.
You stole my thunder there, Neil. I was wanting to tell you Ryan Mansell had been subbed into the game in a frenetic fashion. He just ripped his top off and ran onto the ground and then kicked the goal. Looks like Dustin Martin might be subbed out. I'm just waiting to hear from Richmond as to why.
The footy smarts there by Tom Lynch for all of the ball, just to know where his numbers were. That smart tap back between the legs is what contributed in that goal there.
And a huge contested ball win right in the middle of the ground for Marlon Pickett as well was allowed them to set up that forward entry.
Mansell right back at home, the premiership player with Woodville West Torrens gives the Tigers a settler. Bounce in the middle, Nankervis wins it down, put it in the path of Hopper, who was begging for a holding free against Schonberg. Late whistle, very late, but it was there. Jacob Hopper receives it forward of the centre circle. Adelaide flood back. Hopper will want to bang it long. Races away from Schonberg and sends it straight up towards the top of the goal scorer. O'Brien nearly clumped the intercept mark. Lost it late. Cochin swarmed, kicked for home. and bounces through with the most unorthodox method. Floated in the air and just crept over the line. An error from Riley O'Brien. And the premiership skipper capitalises for Richmond. Back up by 13 points at the Adelaide Oval. 14-4, 88. The Crows 10-15, 75. 15 minutes into the final term on Grandstand AFL.
While the Crows have been dominant for much of this second half, it's been the experienced heads of Richmond really stand up in the last couple of minutes. And Cochin on his left foot, unopposed at the fall of the ball inside 50. A really great finish for Richmond and timely.
So Richmond with the steadiers after the Crows got back within a point 3-4 minutes ago. Now back in the middle, and it'll be Thilthorpe, and he goes with Nankervis, and it'll be recalled. So we'll get a secondary ball up. Nankervis not surrendering the ball to the umpire until he was happy he had his run up all marked out again. So here we go, Thilthorpe over the top this time, and possession, out of the ruck contest, flipped it to Soligo. Then it went to Laird down the half forward, knocked off the pack, forward, found McIntosh stepping well. A little bit of time warp there, jump to the left, step to the right, now they run. Baker through the middle, out to Pickett. Pickett on the eastern side, inside half forward. Lead up by Ryan, and he takes the mark. So the big man from 48 metres, the man on the mark. So Ryan's going to need a big boot for this, and given it's only his, second game, not sure of his quality in terms of kicking from this distance. So the backup ruckman, in he comes, and strikes the ball long and strong and straight. Great finish by the young man. He has 3 for the afternoon by my count now. And most importantly, the Tigers are now 3 goals clear. It's Richmond 15-4, 94. They've answered the challenge. Adelaide 10-15, 75, 17 and a half into the last term.
Some sharp execution through the middle of the ground there by Richmond. Some good composure and then a nice quality finish in the end.
So Adelaide asked the question. Richmond finally settling after a very shaky third term. They looked immaculate in the opening half, the Tigers. And now starting to find some form once again. Surprisingly, with Dustin Martin now subbed out of the game through no injury. Tactical sub there by Damien Hardwick with Ryan Mansell on the field. Bounce in the middle. Ryan's gone from goal scorer to tap ruckman. He wins it down to Hopper. Gave it off to Taranto, wrapped up in a tackle quickly. Laird brought him down. Ball up to come. Rory Laird, 36 touches and now 8 tackles as well. After 18 touches last week, he's back to his best. Toss back up. Murphy tries to pull it away. Kick was smothered by Hopper, who then falls into the tackle on top of him. Bit of biff, not too much, but just a bit of feeling in this now as we get another ball up just outside the centre circle.
Thilthorpe, the man involved to go against Ryan. Ryan got the tap, it'll be holding, and he'll get the free kick. Thilthorpe complaining. Doesn't do him any good. Sent on his way by Murphy, his teammate. Ryan now plays on. Boots it high. Inside forward 50. Bolton unrealistic at the back. Surely that's a free kick. It came down to Schonberg. Had to release a hand pass. Morris Rioli back to Bolton. Adelaide with Smith, it was, or rather Scholl, who was slung to ground by the Bolton tackle, and we'll get a ball up just outside the attacking goal square for the Tigers.
So Lynch now in the ruck against Thilthorpe. Neither get a clean tap. Missing the boot. Smith now has to become the tackler. Holds things up a little bit further back. We're about 30 out now from the Tigers' goal.
Lockie Scholl's worked super hard for the Crows today. For a guy who wasn't in the round 1 team, I think he's had 27 disposals today.
First game of the season. Lynch disposes of Thilthorpe in the ruck but couldn't claim it. Taranto kicks it straight up and down. Big fist from Murray. Clears defensive 50, but Graham was waiting. Gives it off to Baker. Lowers the eyes. A floater, but it finds its way to McIntosh. Steadies from 40 and then kicks across the face. Had more time than he thought. Minor score on the left-hand side. Richmond by 20 points. 15-5, 95. plays 10-15-75. And we've still got 10 minutes to play in this final term.
Plenty of time for Adelaide. From the kick-in, though, Richmond turns it over. Graham wide with a hand pass. Then inside 50, Smith comes across, couldn't take it. Cochin pirouettes, hand pass out for Taranto, slapped it up to Bolton, looked like a throw. Umpire said that's all okay. No, he doesn't. Comes back and says, you threw that, Tim Taranto. And so it'll be Keys to take the relieving kick free kick, in fact, for Adelaide.
Looked like they may have kicked the sealer as well if that hadn't been called. Adelaide exit defensive 50. Scholl was caught behind and had to spoil. Up against Pickett, knocks it over the boundary line eastern side. It's been great to have you with us across the day on Grandstand AFL. Earlier, Collingwood defeating Port Adelaide by 71 points. Still to come, Fremantle and North Melbourne at Perth Stadium. Nat Fyfe are laid out there, and the Western Bulldogs and St Kilda from Docklands. If you want to hear either game, you can jump on the ABC Listen app, hit the AFL or the AFL Extra button. O'Brien takes it out of the ruck tap. Clearing kick up the eastern side. Awkward bounce didn't favour Rankin, but Walker keeps pushing it forward. Sockers it off the deck looking for Thilthorpe. Brought down without it. Crowd wanted a free. They won't get it. Baker with the clearing kick for Richmond. Rolls in front of the path of Morris Rioli. Did well to paddle it to his advantage and shake the Schonberg tackle, but his kick is poor. On the 45 inside, hits up Duday. On the counter, Adelaide now. Hands it off to Pedler. Forward in the path of Laird. He should have hit him. Bolter charges through to cut it off. Heads down the line and hits Bolton at centre half forward, who will slow things down for Richmond. And then quickly turn, looking for Riewoldt, and hits him on the lead. 30 out, straight in front. Richmond have taken a hold of this contest in the fourth after it looked like they were in a ton of danger.
That's exceptional footy from Noah Bolter to win the ball like that at half back and just back himself in, and just could not have kicked it better down Shea Bolton's throat. Exceptional play from Bolter.
Great afternoon for Jack Riewoldt as well. 2 goals and looking for his third. Man on the mark, 35. Riewoldt kicks from 45. It's starting left and not coming back. Another miss for the Tigers. 21 points their lead. 15-6, 96 plays 10-15-75. 22 minutes into the fourth. And the crowd attendance is 38,492. Felt a little bigger than that, but 40,000 continues to elude Adelaide Oval over the past couple of years.
Adelaide bringing the ball in on this grandstand side. Keys has it. He's gone into the centre successfully in this last quarter. Down the line he goes, looking for Saligo. Ball tapped over the back by the Richmond player in Glostone. Picked up by Thilthorpe. Kicked blindly inside 50, and it was Bolter who took the mark on the stretch. Fogarty brought back on the mark. Richmond content to slow this down. Adelaide have thrown a lot of punches, but they just haven't been able to take advantage on the scoreboard. Now, interesting collision in the pack, and there was some tunnelling going on. It'll go to Dawson of Adelaide. Just gets up slowly. So, Dawson just feeling maybe possibly some cramp or maybe a leg injury. He's going straight off the bench after kicking the ball into half forward. Bolter, he had it in his hands, got it away towards the boundary line. Ball still not over. Picked up by Schonberg. Morris Rioli was there, so was Laird. He picked it up, and as he turned, he realised Taranto was going to tackle him over the line. So we get a throw in. And left half forward for the Crows. And the situation is, there's still time, but there's 24 minutes down in this final quarter, and it's Richmond by 21 points.
Aaron Bryan's Neil Cross, Lauren Arnell, Scott Thompson with you for the call. It beats both ruckmen, and at the back, Cochin was waiting. Hands it off to Baker, then short. The Tigers through Daniel Rioli, and now Pickett points long and tells him to run into it. 2 bounces through the centre square, and he charges through a Duday tackle as well. But Saligo comes across to smother at centre half forward. He keeps fighting for it, Pickett. Forces it out to left half forward. Cochin's there, uses Prestia, dummies, then gives it back to Pickett from 48, wheels around and hits Lynch in the left forward pocket. He just kept fighting and fighting, Marlon Pickett. Heart and soul effort there for the Richmond Football Club, and Tom Lynch has the pill. Down on the mark, 15 out, tight angle to the left.
Really took the game on there, Pickett, didn't he? Work rate, second, third efforts, and then to lace him out with that left foot. Beautiful execution.
Tom Lynch had 3 last week. His third drew the game. His third this afternoon will seal it. Richmond by 27 points. 16-6, 102 to Adelaide's 10-15, 75. The Tigers surging towards their first win of the campaign with 5 minutes to play on Grandstand AFL.
It's been a little while, Scott, since I've seen Richmond live, but just the impact that Marlon Pickett has on this team and how important he is to them. He only had 1 disposal in that third quarter. He's been significant, if not the most important player for them out there in this last quarter, and he's just had so many key moments where he's turned up and created scoring opportunities.
He can be a bit of a barometer, but his downfall is he does go missing at times, but when he's up and going, ball in hand, he's really good and he's tough in the contest.
So Adelaide was back within a point of Richmond at the 12-minute mark, but since then the Tigers have steadied with 4 goals to take control of the match. Breaking out of the middle, Prestia pulled down by Laird. It'll be a free kick to the Crows. They're about to lose the centre clearance again. So Laird just goes across the square to Smith. He flares it out wide, looking for some run there. Mansell was there for Richmond, picks it up. Hinge tackled him, but he released the hand pass. Daniel Rioli off half-back. Weaves to Taranto. Support from Graham. His handball partly smothered. Cochin picks it up. Gives it back to Graham. He was tackled just as he tumbled it inside forward 50. Picked up Mo by Murray. He missed it. Laird was in support for Adelaide. Duday now clears the area. It's 4-on-1. Sloane being the one for Adelaide. Bolton gets back. Gets the hand pass. Defensively to Vlostone, pushes off one, takes control, off to Broad with a hand pass.
Maybe his last game for a couple of weeks, Nathan Broad, after that dangerous tackle, but his kick is good. He hits up Mansell just behind left half forward. Crows fans making their way towards the exits. Still a fair few minutes to go, but they've been through a flurry of emotions this afternoon. Mansell heads inside 50, straight to Thilthorpe in the hole. Intercept mark for Adelaide. Looks to counter, up to the centre square. Hits Sloane, who gave it off to Schomburg. Kicks into space for Keys at right half forward. Had a runner in Rankin. Gives it to him, but turns into a wall of Vlostone. Handball back over the top to Keys, who fends off Vlostone from 45. Snaps on the left, heading towards goal. Minus score on the right-hand side. 26-point lead to Richmond. 16-6, 102. Plays 10-16, 76. And Richmond now head to the eastern side with a great kick out from Bolter. It's Pickett.
Pickett plays on down to half forward, looking for Bolton. Too wide. Michael Annie just fumbled it rather deliberately over the line. And so it'll be a throw in between centre wing and half forward on the eastern side for Richmond. They've taken back control of this match after they were out by 45 points at half time. Adelaide closed within a point earlier in the quarter. Richmond have steadied. Baker, Logo on centre wing, off to Nankervis. Ruckman's had a good day, inside forward 50. Lynch, the lead, had it knocked away by Murray for Adelaide. Now he does a 1-2 hand pass with Smith. Murray comes to this broadcast side of the ground. Good release for Pedler. He bolts forward, picks it up, sends it along to Walker. Walker brings it to ground. Ball comes to Fogarty, off to Walker by hand. Walker caught in a tackle, swung, down, out. Young was the tackler, held grimly to Walker's left arm, and in the end Walker has to surrender the ball for the free kick. Well done by the young Richmond defender in his first game.
In about 7 minutes' time, we'll take you wherever you're headed, I guess, for the next 2 games. Those listeners in WA, you'll be going to Fremantle and North Melbourne. Everybody else to the Docklands for the Western Bulldogs and St Kilda. If you want to hear either game, the Perth Stadium game is available to you on the Listen app on the AFL Extra button, and the Western Bulldogs game is available on the AFL button. Up the western side go the Tigers, and Thilthorpe, the nice tackle on Graham to hold things up just forward of centre wing. Good to see Jordan Dawson back out there after being a bit proppy earlier. The only injury so far, Patrick Parnell with concussion, which we expect Nathan Broad to answer for. Ball not really going anywhere at the moment. Tigers up by 26 points. Ball up to come just in front of us on the western side. Good chance to give a little bit of a shout out as well to Michael Baker, one of the boundary umpires this afternoon. His 100th game at AFL level. Camden McIntosh wins the clearance around the body. Up to right half forward. Lynch was pushed out of it by Murray. It was dangerous because he collided with Hinge in the air. Play continues. Dawson gathers. Nice crumb. Fends off Taranto and gets it to Saligo. He tried to do a little underground kick to Fogarty but caught his shin and it rolls over the boundary line right in front of the benches to be tossed back into play. With about 85 seconds left in this contest at the Adelaide Oval.
Just a little bit of fatigue setting in for Saligo, I think. Ball comes back into play. And Murphy off the ruck contest takes it. Fresh here with a hand pass out. Then McIntosh sent it into Pedler. He runs straight into Vlostone. He almost got out of the tackle, but he's been caught holding the ball. It'll come back. It'll be Daniel Rioli takes the free kick. He sends it wide for Hopper. Marks it near the interchange gates. Richmond just seeing our time now. They know they've got it. They thought they had it for sure, I'm sure, at half-time when they led by 45 points. Short pass finds Nankervis. He's had a good afternoon as well. Coming up for his 17th disposal. 36 hit-outs. Been the best ruckman on the ground by far. That was not his best kick to centre-half forward.
Had no idea what to do with it, Cross. He did a full 360 before he finally unleashed. Hit a pack at centre-half forward. Baker was there at the fall of the footy. Handball forward wasn't great. Himmelberg charging out to meet it. Could have controlled it. Bolton spins through two. The check side finish. Beautiful. Magical effort there from Bolton. There's a bit of afters between Pickett and Himmelberg as players come in.
Yeah,
a bit of jumper tugging as well. Bolton has his first of the afternoon. Meanwhile, the Tigers have their 11th. Their 17th, I should say. 17-6, 108 to the Crows 10-16, 76. Crossy, what was that all about?
Well, Pickett attacked Himmelberg front on, hit him over the shoulder, umpire no call, but Himmelberg was far from happy with the high contact that he received, and that's why he went across and remonstrated. Nevertheless, it was still a goal for Richmond, and they just kick away to, I don't know, is this a fair margin now, boys?
It is now.
Lauren,
the Crows seem to have just run out of legs now. You'll notice a lot of guys out there starting to cramp up for the Crows, and we touched on earlier the 6-day break playing in the heat last week.
So back in the middle, Richmond are able to escape, but they go sideways and eventually backwards by hand of Vlostone from Broad, and Vlostone off half back goes to centre wing. Wasn't a great disposal. Adelaide, it'll come back. It'll be a free kick to Richmond. And that's it. The Tigers' first win for the season, but they're unbeaten because, of course, they had a draw in round one. A good finish after they led by 45 at half-time. They end up winning by 32 points.
Risking head and shin, if we're behind then never mind, we'll fight and win for we're from Tigerland. We never weaken till the final siren's gone. Like the tiger of old, we're strong and we're bold, for we're from Tiger, yellow and black, we're from Tigerland.
It was a game that had a little bit of everything. Richmond kicked 11 goals to 3 in the opening half to lead by 45 points. Adelaide kicked 7 goals to 1 there in the second or the start of the third. And ultimately, Richmond held on at the end, kicking the last 5 goals to win by 32 points. In a couple of minutes, we're going to take you to either Fremantle and North Melbourne or the Western Bulldogs and St Kilda. We will head into the rooms and record an interview for you for the next game. But quickly, Lauren Arnell, you're 3-2-1 in the ABC Footballer of the Year.
Well, you've put me under the pump here, guys. I think Taranto and Hopper had a really good game. I thought Pickett was crucial when the game was on the line. Let's throw it out at Taranto 3, Hopper 2, Pickett 1.
Happy with that, Tomo?
Fair call. It's hard to narrow it down to 3 straight after the game. But look, Richmond were the dominant side in the first half. They had the whole game on their terms. Yes, the Crows came out, threw everything at them in the third term, had their opportunities to probably even hit the lead if they were able to kick accurately in front of goal. But as the game wore on, again over the course of that fourth quarter, Richmond got the game back on their terms, and fair margin in the end.
Tomo, great debut. Loz, great to have you back with us.
Thank you.
Game had a bit of everything. At least we saw some highlights for sure. Goals for the Tigers, 3 to Ryan, to Lynch, 2 to Rewalt, singles to Martin, Baker, Cochin, Short, Hopper, Mansell, Bolton, Graham and Broad. Meanwhile for Adelaide, 3 to Fogarty, 2 to Rankin, Walker, Rochelle and Thilthorpe. Richmond winners by 32 points, 17-6, 108 to Adelaide's 10-16, 76. If you're listening in WA, you're headed to Perth Stadium for Fremantle and North Melbourne. That fight are late out there. Everyone else, you're off to the Docklands for the Western Bulldogs and St Kilda. A reminder, if you want to hear any game of the 2023 AFL Premiership season, jump on the ABC Listen app. The Perth game will be available to you tonight on the Extra button, the Docklands on the AFL button. Thanks for your company. What a ride. Richmond winners by 32 points.